Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Ball Over Passion. I'm your boy, George V underscore AFC, and we are back with another video. Guys, it's the one that you've been clamoring for. We keep seeing comments, let's go. It is the transfer space. It is something that, you guys love. It's everything that I think we are in the mood for at this moment in time. We've got some deals, some things to discuss. Fofana, BoP, all done. Anthony basically crying like a little B word out to Romano. So there's some stuff to talk about. But first, before we get into all of the fun stuff, I'm here with Curran. I'm here with Chris. How you boys doing, Curran, mate? You good?
I am fine, my brother. I am just quite busy. So let's just get into this because there's a lot to get into.
Yeah. No, there's a ton to get into, and before we get into it, I'm gonna have to ask just for completeness, Chris, how you doing, boy? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Do I want to be here talking about transfers now? Am I here to talk about transfers? Yes.
Yeah, so look, guys, it's okay. Look, let's get into it, okay? And I know, guys, it's a big stream. We got to be on time for this one. So, it's what you guys want to do, right? So, listen, guys,
I'll tell
what
you
we'll
something,
do.
right?
Mm,
With 20, this is the first time I think this has ever happened. All of us were in the streaming software 25 minutes early. All of us were just having a nice time talking some
I was here
UFC.
before you.
He was here before me. I was here 2 hours ago and then left, and then Chris got here. But yeah, it's been I don't know what happened where everyone is here early and we actually launched before the Showtime thing started. So
Guys, it's
this is
almost like we do this
historic.
YouTube thing for a reason. So, we are back, we're here. And look, where are we going to start with? So, I know a lot of people might want to start with other things. Don't worry, we will get to Chelsea, but we are Arsenal fans, so we will absolutely start all of the Arsenal first. Evening, everybody. Hope everybody's good. Welcome everybody again. I hope you guys enjoy this. So let's just get into it. Like, there's no point in doing any more intros. Welcome everybody in the chat. We're going to start Arsenal. We're going to start the situation. So, listen, I think let's start with the fact of a central midfielder versus an attacker debate, and then let's get into specific names and the mystery winger. So, let's have first of a debate about what is the major priority, whether it's a forward or whether it's a central midfielder. Because the biggest thing that I'm going to say, just to set it up, is I've been saying for weeks now, the biggest thing that I need to be recruited is 15 goals and assists in the league. That is what I need to be recruited. There's multiple ways to skin a cat. There's multiple ways to do that. But that's been my party line for the last, I'd say, month and a half or so. And I think that there's a lot of ways that we could do this. There's ways that I prefer more than others. But in terms of whether that has to be a central midfielder or a forward, let's have a little debate on that. And what everybody in the comments, you guys let us know what you guys feel as though. I think everybody wants a forward at this point, but I do think you can do it with a central midfielder. It'll just be in a different way. But I'll go first to Chris. In terms of this debate, central midfielder or attacker, I think we're not getting to, and I'm okay with that. I'll be honest with you. I think there's not enough time in order to secure two signings left in the window. So there's going to be one. We have about 60 million pounds to play with. If you're just going by pure logic in terms of 55 being rejected from Rafinha, and we didn't have that, and then maybe about 10 to 15 less that we would have spent on Lissandro Martinez, you get basically 60 to 65 mil, right? That's what you're going to get to play with. Now, there's rumors on the timeline. I'll just give you Pedro Neto. We'll probably have a little bit of a discussion there, and we'll start with the forward targets. But a lot of people have been saying it's 50 million pounds. I think that's ridiculous. I keep telling everybody online, stop thinking that Pedro Neto is only worth 50 million pounds. This is lunacy. I don't care about the Jorge Mendes effect. When Anthony Gordon is going for 60 million pounds and you've got 90 million euros rejected for Anthony, there's no way in the blue hell that Pedro Neto is 50 million pounds. But let's put that to one side. Let's go with what's reported, even though that's illogical. What is your evaluation of the player? Me and you have had fights in group chats about him. And I think, people are going to be like, uh-oh, here we go. But it's a player for me that I think is a very good player that a lot of people project now, but is not quite what you're going to get. And I think when you look at it, it's a player right now that is better on the left than he is on the right wing. And a lot of people are buying him for backup on the right wing, as well as the ability to maybe start and provide competition at the left. So give me your overall feeling on Pedro Neto. And basically, is he worth 50 million pounds? Whether that's now or in the future. And if you could maybe give me a quick rundown of pros and cons. about him? Like, what's his biggest weakness and what's his biggest strength?
Okay, Pedro Neto. Is he a very good player? Yes. Is he a great talent? Yes. Has he contributed a lot of goals to Wolves? Yes. Has he scored big goals for Wolves? Yes. 95th minute winner versus Chelsea, for example. He's done some very good things at Wolves. Do I want to sign him? Is he my first choice? No. Can he play right wing or left wing? Yes. Can he play right wing to the same level as he can left wing? No. He can't replicate the same things he does at left wing to right wing. Recently, we saw him play versus Spurs. He had 0 shots, 1 out, 0 dribbles completed, 0 take-ons completed, 1 out of 6 crosses completed. Like, he can't replicate the same final ball, the same ball striking from the right to the left right now. In the future, will he be able to? Probably. By the end of the season, will he be able to? No. So if we do buy him as a backup right wing, will the level drop from Saka? Yes, and very much so. So for me, is he my first choice? Definitely not. Especially for a player who can play right wing and left wing, which is what we seem to want. He's not my first choice. Is he different to the left wings we have? Yes. Does he offer things that they don't? Yes, he does. He offers a left foot. First of all, he's left footed. He's as potent, maybe even more potent in transition than Martinelli. He's better 1v1, and he's probably got a better outswing across. So I think there's definitely pros to signing him. At his peak, he'll be a great to elite right wing, probably a top 10, top 5 maybe right wing in the world at his peak. But while I wouldn't want to sign another player who were waiting for their peak. I'd rather sign someone much closer. Like Eddie is like a big brother in the change room, and he's 22. So that shows how young we are. So Pedro Neto wouldn't add to that. But yeah, I just want to make sure people don't take it as I'm saying he's not a good player, because I think he's a very good one. But we were talking about this even yesterday that I'd prefer, obviously another name we'll talk about, Zaha. I'd say I'd prefer Zaha over Neto, for example, just for the playing fact that I think his skills translate more over more places across the pitch rather than just in one area, which is left wing. And it's just more versatile as
I'm
well.
just going to cut in
Anyway,
because Zaha is going to be his own segment because I've got things
yeah.
to say on Zaha. I've been saying for weeks he's the best price to quality winger or forward available at the moment. In the last year of his contract, he's going to be no more than 30 to 35 million pounds. That is a player that I think deserves his own segment. But in terms of Pedro Neto, just very quickly, it's a very young player, 22. Like you said, I think ceiling-wise is going to become one of the better right wingers in the league. The things that concern me about Pedro Neto is I think he's a lot more reliant on transitions. He immediately becomes our best transition threat in the squad. He's got excellent running power. He's somebody that's extremely vertical in his dribbling. I don't even think that he's tight necessarily in dribbles. He's got excellent technique in tight spaces. But the thing is, he is quite he's quite vertical in how he forces the issue. And I think that's one of the benefits on a team that kind of doesn't do that enough in the final third. So he'll definitely add that to us. But I think one of the biggest issues is I find as though he's not as direct and he's not as consistent with his final action on the right wing than he is on the left. That's definitely a fact. So when he comes in, he's definitely going to be a starter at left wing if he was to be brought in. But I think in terms of going into the further next season, I would look for something different because I struggle to see how he's going to do in a possession-based side in the moment while he's still patterning up that kind of tight space control because it's something that he does struggle with. And I think in terms of his crossing ability, it's excellent, but it's excellent off the left. I think it's inconsistent off the right. Here's like a really fun stat about Pedro Neto in terms of his career goals and assists. ESR did that last season in a fifth of his total minutes. So let me just say that again for everybody to hear again so that they can hear it. He achieved the exact same output as Emile Smith-Rowe did last season across his entire career in 5 times the amount of minutes. So I think for me, it's, again, not that he's a poor player, but I think people, what they're doing is they're projecting their fears, they're projecting what we hope to have, and he does it in one area of the pitch that they're not using it for when they're considering the squad. For example, they're considering him as backup to Saka, but they're believing whatever he does on the left is translatable to the right. And those same skills and consistency of final action, those same skills of, tight space control, they occur on the right, but that's just simply not the case right now. Does that mean he'll never have it? No. And again, his ceiling is best off the right because his angles in terms of receiving are far better on the right. But just right now, he doesn't have the same consistency of final action. And again, Pedro Neto's best asset is his transition threat and his ability to be vertical with his dribbling. That is his best asset. He immediately becomes our biggest transition threat because of that issue. He makes the right decisions when he's in transition. But are we in transition as a team very often? I don't know. When you look at the Saka role, it's more of a touchline winger role. So when you're really looking at backup yet again, I'm watching Pedro Neto, and when he is inside on the right wing, he doesn't operate as that touchline winger. He's a lot more inside, and that, I think, it accentuates some of his weaknesses in the moment, which is still tight space, creative passing, by the way, in between the lines. Like, that's not something that his strength. He's much more a dribbler. He will take you on and he will go and deliver a final action. That's kind of a person that he is. He's a byline winger in a sense. So he's a guy that, definitely can dribble, but he's not mazy. He's very, very straight. He's very vertical with it. So he's going to get it to the byline and cross, or get it to the byline to try to finish the action. That's what he does. Is our right winger, is that the role that they're doing? I'm not too sure. But I'm going to give it off to Curran because I think Curran's a lot more of a fan than Pedro Neto than maybe me and Chris. But what do you make of the overall deal? What do you make of his overall qualities? And is it something that we could regret in a year and a half time when you're looking at easily over 50 million pounds? And do you see him as somebody that can work long term without a major marquee forward next summer? Like, if your idea is to still get a marquee forward next summer as well as a midfielder, does Pedro Neto fit long term in terms of the value that you're getting for 50 million plus pounds?
I mean, look, I really do like Pedro Neto. You're correct, and we have had arguments over this. But the issue for me is, what are we trying to achieve in terms of tactically with the team? And you mentioned something very, very interesting that I picked up on about how, I mean, to me, I've always seen Pedro Neto as a left wing creator and a right wing runner. I feel like he's a much better crosser, he's a much better passer off the left, and he's a much more mazier dribbler and more direct off the right. And I feel like in this team right now, our best creators are on the left. You've got Zinchenko, you've got Xhaka making those late runs, you've got Jesus drifting left, and the triangles that we're
Do
forming
you mean
right
our
now.
best creators or our best possession right now? Because I still would think that Saka and Odegaard are your better creators.
No. But my point is that in terms of productivity in creation right now, as in this moment, I'm not talking about in general. In this moment, our best creation, our best shot and chance creation is coming through rotations off the left, and we've had more carries and dribbles off the right, and we've kind of, because of the Xhaka Zinchenko dynamic, and our crosses have more come either from touchline left or Ben White overlap in the last game. And I feel like if you're looking at where we're going to evolve this team next, I think we need someone. I've said consistently that we need someone that can strike a ball with consistency. I feel like we need our KDB, basically. I think that's our main profile. We need someone.
So then, if you need KDB, though, let's say but do you need KDB for Saka backup? So this is the biggest point. So again, I have a feeling
that's what I was getting to.
Yeah, like, do you believe that the role that we ask of our touchline winger in Saka is Pedro Neto off the right wing? And also, long term, will it be him? Because it's not just can he do it, it's can he do that for your project for 5 years? Because when you buy him for 50 million pounds, by the way, again, I just want to be clear, because you have to be harsh with these valuations, by the way. I understand that the market's getting crazy, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about the Zaha thing. That's how I'm going to transition later. But I have a question for you, Curran, because I feel as though when you have this talk of just pay whatever you want, everybody is panicking right now. I sent a tweet earlier. I think everybody is going a little bit nuts in terms of being fear of missing out, essentially. And these valuations are creeping higher and higher. And the big thing that I would say is, for 50 million pounds, what do you demand? This is the biggest thing. Like, will Pedro Neto be worth that fee? 100%. Is he a steal at £50 million?
No, but the
I
thing
think-
is, George,
I
it's
think
about
maybe-
it's about actually talking about how we're talking about market opportunities here. I think Edu said that with Rafinha. If there's a market opportunity available, £50 million, the quality is there. You bring that quality in, especially with a tiring Saka. You don't
Yeah.
want to extend it too much. The World Cup season, etc. He's young. You don't want him to wear out. The issue is, can we get that?
Well, so the thing is,
It's-
I'm gonna build off this because this is my major point. Is Rafinha a comparable profile to Pedro Neto? I don't agree. Like Rafinha is an extremely creative winger, and he absolutely was a touchline option on the right wing. In terms of what he
Yes,
offered
correct.
you on the left wing, he was a touchline. It was very clear in terms of what he offered you. Pedro Neto isn't quite that on the right. He doesn't play that role on the right. And so when you're talking about having an alternative, yes, you want an alternative player, but you also want similarity in profile. Is this person that you're buying for £50 million, by the way, is he somebody that's top 5 right wingers in the league? Outside of Saka, is he? You have to be yes for that.
He's not.
Is he? And he's not, by the way. I don't agree that he is. Is he top 5 left wingers in the league? Closer. I would say you could argue. I could understand that for top 5 wingers. Now, is he that for 5 years? Are you going to get at least 5 years out of him? You are. Check.
I think-
Is he versatile to multiple roles? This is where I don't know. Pedro Neto is going to be somebody that you have to build your team around. I don't know if he's somebody that is going to be able to be versatile to the same effect that other players are. And so when I look at marquee forwards, sorry, just to wrap up, Corinne, I'll let you give your piece. You need to click 3 major boxes for me. You need to be top 3 in your position, undisputed, or at least debated. Like you're very much up there. You need to at least have versatility to multiple roles and systems. And you need to at least provide me with 5+ years of service. That's what I look at when you exceed £50 million. That's a marquee money. Do you think that Pedro Neto can give us that, but also give us that in the future? This is what I mean. He will be worth £50 million. That's no doubt. That's actually cheap for his talent at the ceiling. You know, he is going to be more than a £50 million player developed. Do you see him having the opportunity to be that in this team? Do you see a role for him to be a starring role in this team in that capacity? Especially considering, by the way, which will be a little bit of a Zaha transition, that we've lost Lacazette, Bernd Leno, Aubameyang. Forgetting the player qualities, we've lost all of that experience in a team that is the youngest team in the league, and we've seen through all or nothing, and we've seen for the last season and a half, essentially, it's been unable to meet the demands when it got tough. And some of that is the fact that it's just a young team. So how do you bridge that compromise, knowing that we really need somebody along with somebody that maybe has a little bit of tweaks?
Look, I think that for me, obviously, your question, the answer to your question is Zaha, but just to make a statement on why the alternative view of why I think Pedro Neto would be a good signing. Like, I'll ask you guys, both of you, do we feel that Pedro Neto adds 15 goals and assists to this team?
I don't know. Is he off
On
the right wing?
no.
Not off the right wing.
The
And
right
even
wing,
off
no.
the left wing, current, it's debatable. He's got 10 career goals in as many seasons. ESR did that last season. He doesn't have that. Could he explode? Potentially. Is he a player that's bubbling? Yes. But current, he's never consistently had 10 league goals and assists in the league. He's had it in all competitions, but he's never had it in the league. So people are considering the projection of what he could be versus what he is.
Second question, do you think we can turn him for a profit in about 2 or 3 years?
Yes, absolutely.
Chris?
Yeah.
Oh, someone's feedback. Anyway, the third question I was going to ask is there a way to put him in this team where he can get to a level that we can rest Bukayo Saka?
Well, absolutely. Of course,
Not this season.
Of course, he could. Well, he could be an option. He just won't be as good as Bukayo Saka. Again, you're going from really what it comes down to, and I'll make it very, very simply. You're basically getting a player that is flawed, that in the right system could really shine. When used really well, he could be a star player at a top 6 club. But you have to cater to him, and you have to cater to that system. But we've already given freedom to Jesus. We've already given freedom to other areas of the pitch. When you start to consider it, and again, this is a beautiful transition to Zaha, which I will let Chris go, but I want to talk because I've been talking about him for absolutely weeks. Is he a better deal than 30 to 35 million pound Wilfried Zaha, who has consistent end product of 15 goal and assists in the league for 3 years? By the way, 1 second. At right wing, he's got 110 career appearances, and he's got 15 goals, 5 assists, and something like 105 chances created. What do you think Pedro Neto has at right wing in half as many games? He's got a third of the chances created at 34, and he's got about 5 goals. What is it, Chris, again? It was, I think,
5 goals, 3 assists in
5 goals and 3
games.
assists. So in half, he's got half the output in half the amount of games, but a third of the chances created. So if you're looking at Rafinha, by the way, who was your alternative as the creative winger, is Pedro Neto that? And this is just Wilfried Zaha at right wing, not left wing, who we all agree is undisputed, probably top 3 to 5 wingers of the league, and has been for the last 5 years. Bar Sterling, Sane, Mane, Son. Has there been a better left winger in the league? I don't know.
No, the one point I will make is in terms of he offers, like, for me anyway, the main reason why I'm thinking I'm okay with Neto is, look, we have a lot of situations where we have to go into our block, and I remember West Ham away or Leicester away, where there's situations where we're at 3 at the back, man the houses and try and get a win, and you need an outlet. You need someone to play in transition in that area. And if you look at game states that we could be in, there is a situation where Pedro Neto becomes one of the best players I think we could even recruit in that position. There are specific game states where I reckon that if you look at Pedro Neto and you need an outlet in transition, he is the best in our squad for that role.
Well, but again, and then when you compare it to Zaha, that's not true. Zaha is a far better transition threat than Pedro Neto on both wings. He's also a better threat inside. Zaha is somebody that's evolved in the last 18 months. He's not that touchline winger that everyone keeps saying that he is. He's somebody that can come inside. He has versatility to the striker. I remember I saw a comment just here, can he play striker? Absolutely, he can play striker. He's done it multiple times.
Liverpool.
And he played there versus Liverpool. And in fact, he has added running in behind. Zaha is probably one of the more complete players that you've got right now. He's got 1 year left on his contract, so it's max 30 to 35 million pounds. And while there is no resale value, when you look at the squad that's collectively got the youngest front line in the league right now, you have the prospects. It doesn't really mean that the value for money is wasted when you're going to get at least 2 to 3 years left out of Zaha. He's a big game player. He's going to give you that jump that not only gets you guaranteed top 4, but gets you into third very comfortably. And he replaces experience that we've lost. We haven't lost prospects. We don't need to go younger. And so this idea of resale value, I really push back on, because right now you need to ask what the team needs to get to the next level. And right now it needs 15 goals and assists. It needs experience. It needs somebody to offer you versatility across the front line. And in a year or two, is okay to be rotation on the bench. Now, is Pedro Neto going to be able to do that? He can do that. Will he be able to realize his potential? I'm not too sure. But Chris, I wanted to go to you because one of the big things that, people levy at Zaha, and I think it's unfair, is this thing about his attitude. And it is something that's happened in the past. And, basically I wanted to ask your opinion. Do you really cater to this idea of Wilfried Zaha's attitude blocking himself for a move? And then I also kind of would want you to maybe comment on the fact, do we need a project in attack? This idea that people are convinced of not just resale value, but also targeting players like Mudryk. And we will talk about him. I have some thoughts about him. But Mudryk, for example, is another player that's a prospect, somebody that, is potentially very good down the line. But, are you more with Yo-Yo in terms of replacing the burnt Leno, the Lacazette, the Aubameyang? We've lost a lot of experience in the squad. Do you think his attitude, has changed, but that he can be now a leader at a club, having gone through what he's gone through?
I think the attitude stuff is overblown simply because he gets angry at bad tackles, or he gets angry when he does a decision doesn't go his way. So then it's assumed that he has a bad attitude. But when players don't complain to the ref, they're saying they're soft. So there's no like medium. There's no happy medium where a player can be seen as this big leader who gets in the ref's face when things don't go his team's way, or he's sulking. And I think if you're at a top team and you do that, you're seen as a great leader. But if you're at a team that's losing and you do that, you're seen as a sulker. But Vieira has said many things that he's necessary to lead the team. With so many young players on the rise, with Mitchell, Eze, or Least, like these guys, many of them wouldn't have even made it to a Prem Crystal Palace team and being given the license to do what they do without guys like Zaha and Bolassi. Like Zaha is a big leader in his team. Obviously, he stepped up in big moments versus Liverpool last week where he scored in transition. He scored versus Villa as well. Like he's a very consistent player. He scored 14 goals last season and got 1 assist. He's averaging last season he averaged a goal every 150 minutes, which was top 10 in the league for goals per 90. So he is very, very good. For me, he's my number one choice. Obviously, top 5 left winger in the league for 5 years easily. And this right now is arguably the best left winger in the league. He can play right wing, 110 games at right wing in his career, 15 goals, 5 assists, 105 chances created or something like that. Would he be okay to be rotated with youngsters that are... He'll play more games anyways because we're in more competitions. They don't go far in the FA Cup. They don't go far in the League Cup. They don't go in Europe. So, for example, say we get to... This is crazy, but if we get to the final of every single competition we're in, like Liverpool did last season, and obviously because there's an extra round in Europa League, that's 65 games. We'll probably play like 50 games, 52, something like that. How many will Zaha start at this point? I think he will start minimum 25 and then come off the bench in a lot of the late Europa League games, like getting to the end. And a guy like that, I think for him and for his career, he will need the step up to be mentioned with the greats or to be mentioned with the players of the quality that he is. Like he's never mentioned with the Sons, he's never mentioned with the Sterlings, with the Salahs, like, but he's of that caliber. And last season was really the first time where he had someone else to look to since Bolassi, like in Gallagher, where you can trust him to get goals, you can trust him off the ball to do stuff, and he stepped up and got 14 goals. I think for Arsenal, in comparison to Neto, who most people want, I just think he translated his skills better to the right wing than Neto, and he's had more output from the right wing than Neto. Obviously, he's older, but we have too many young players anyways. Why would we want to get younger? Like, as I said earlier, Eddie is seen as, like, the other players talk to Eddie like he's older and he's like 22 and 23. And like guys like Lokonga are looking to Eddie for advice. So
we have one player in the front line that's a forward that's not Jesus, who is literally the only player that's above 23 in the front line.
Yeah, we're very young.
Super young.
It's the youngest front line in the league, not only just as a team, but it's the youngest front line in the league. And by the way, a team that we don't know if it has enough goals, ultimately, I think in the biggest moments you need that. I'm going to go to Kern for final thoughts on Zaha, because then we're going to transition to kind of the alternative to maybe people that don't want an older option. We'll talk about Mudryk, who is probably that like prospect signing. But first, I'm just going to set up the scene for you, Kern, mate. Last season, top 4 was lost because of our ability to basically deal with injuries to our starting 11. I think whether you get Neto or Zaha, you get an option in case injuries. I think that's not the debate. All right. So I think that check mark happens. Okay. I think the debate is when you approach your Newcastles, your Brightons, when you approach your Europa League final, when you approach these games, the Southamptons, when you approach Palace away, even though that we did it, Everton, Man United, which one of those 2 players are you more confident in delivering consistently to get you to the top level right now, Zaha or Pedro Neto? Because either provide you an option for the team, but one of them probably is a little bit more consistent in terms of output. One of them is probably more used to the bigger occasion. One of them is probably somebody that offers you more versatility across the front line. He replaces experience that you've lost in the team. where do you stand basically on the overall deal? Because now it has to come down to 35 million versus 50 billion pounds. And are you paying an extra 20 million plus for resale value?
Look, I just the instant like I don't think I've talked on Zaha. The whole thing on Zaha for me is you're buying someone who understands what it's like to play at the top level, understands what it's like to be a seasoned professional for 10 plus years now.
Hmm.
He's made his mistakes. He understands what it takes to what he's done wrong in the past, and he'll be a voice in that dressing room. You see, if you remember the all or nothing stuff, the only one that really talked was Xhaka. It was Xhaka, Ramsdale,
Cedric.
Tierney at times, Cedric. I mean, Cedric. Like we needed, we needed Cedric to step up and talk. Like I just feel like if we're looking at, I mean, this is the thing. There was no links to Tomiyasu at this point in the window. We don't know what could happen in terms of links and things. I feel like links are fine, but we don't have links because we're shut up tight. That's the issue. If we had links, if this was 2019 and we had Özil leaking everything to the media, to Wheatley, that's fine. That's a different situation. But we don't. It's literally just Edu and Arteta. But back to the actual player at hand, is just Zaha gives you someone in terms of being able to free up funds for different signings, maybe a next year a marquee centre midfielder, a marquee centre forward, or something along those lines. It allows you to still get the experience in the locker room, offers you an option on all three positions across the front line, and it does offer you a case where you have a leader in the dressing room. So, look, I'm more than okay with Zaha, and I feel like in terms of transitioning to a positional team, we've seen what he's done with Vieira. Like Vieira has gotten the best out of him, and although they don't play the exact same similarity system, they do play a 4-3-3 that has him playing in that inside channel as well as touchline at times. He rotates in and out. He runs both in and out. So it is a case where you can have him slot in, and I don't think he'll be demanding of too much because he's not someone who's going to come in and be like, okay, I have to be the main man. I think he wants to come in. I mean, personally, I'd have to talk to him, but in my opinion, if he was to come in, he would be someone who wants to basically take that level. And then make just last point, someone you can make into an Origi down the line. I think you mentioned that earlier.
Wait,
I think that's a really good point.
Who do you prefer, current Zaha or Neto? Who would you sign?
We haven't had links to Zaha, so I haven't really thought about it. But if I was to add the two of them, I would probably have Zaha. I think Zaha gives you more bang for your buck, and I think he fits better in the system that we have. And it would
lastly
also bring
for me, before you move on, George, lastly for me, I think with Zaha is like he's a player who's been at Palace so long that he's understood different phases of growing a team. He was with Bolasie where they were meant to like push onto Europe. Like you have two elite dribblers, both wings trying to get goals, and now he's in a phase where he's the old head growing with the youngsters, with the Ezes, with the Elises, with the Mitchells, with the Guehis. Like it's a new team, new transfers, players that have been together for only a year, and they're growing, and he has to be the main man. Like all the pressures on him. If they lose, they talk about him. If they win, they talk about him. So I think he's very like embraced the role that he will have the same role in this team. And also, I did say he'll play more games in Arsenal. Last season, he played 30 games for Palace. How many of those, say we play 55 games this season, how many would he play? I think he'll play 30 or more, personally. So I do think he would play more games at Arsenal than he would at Palace. And he'd play more important games. And lastly, I said this to you as well, that it would be stupid of them to let him go regardless of the price.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let him go.
If I was Patrick Vieira, I'm slapping something stupid like 50, 60 million pound price tag on him.
Yeah, because he has 1 year left.
But part of the problem though, Chris, is the market has already set the limit on this kind of thing. Jesus for 45 mil, Sterling, who is I would argue one of those experienced top age attackers at 50, but at least he's got some resale value. Part of the issue that you've got is you've got the sticker twist with the Aubameyang kind of thing, where you can demand a lot of money for his quality, but ultimately his age and what he's able to command as a free signing down the line himself, it's not really something that you can be hard fast at 60 million. And again, we said that we had a budget of 65 million pounds. So I'm not saying that you pay that for Zaha, but what I'm saying is it's capped at a certain level. Pedro Neto starts at this cap, by the way. I don't buy the 50 million pound, signings. His negotiations start at 55 base plus add-ons, right?
My whole thing is just quickly, George. The whole thing with Pedro Neto is that it offers a different solution to a problem. I think it's a different profile that we don't have in the squad. I think it gives you a better transition threat of both sides, and it gives you someone that you can throw in the middle of, like, for example, a Liverpool away, and you'd be like, and if you're 2-1 up and you're trying to save your life, you can chuck him on and get an outlet for 20, 30 minutes. I think he offers you that. I think that's what he gives you, and I think he'd do that to an excellent level. The question is the price. And would you prefer to have different options? Because I remember last time we did this as well, I think we made mistakes last window with certain signings, but we found solutions to what we had in the squad. So these are the issues.
I think Mikel has talked about threat, has talked about potency, and he's talked about, at this point in time, buying something that improves us. And I think that Pedro Neto, again, I don't want it to get lost in translation. Is he worth 50 million pounds? Absolutely. Is he somebody that is going to be worth that fee down the line? Absolutely. Is his ceiling somebody that would demand a 50 million pound signing down the line? Absolutely. Is he all of those things right now? No. He's just not. And so when you're comparing him to somebody like Zaha, by the way, that's not a slight on Pedro Neto when he's not one of the best top 3 left wingers in the league, when he's not one of the best top 5 right wingers in the league. Like, that is not a slight on the boy's talent and his projection and his potential to be that way. But I think this project needs to be moved quickly. I think this project needs to now get experience. It needs to get those players that are you're here. So I agree. Like, I think he just elevates your presence. And, if you go into basically a big derby or Manchester United or Liverpool or City, who would you rather have on there? Pedro Neto or Zaha? That's kind of where I'm at right now.
It depends on the game state.
Despite the valuation. No, I would argue.
Depends on the game state.
I would argue, regardless of game state, I'm picking Wilfried Zaha over Pedro Neto right now. Right wing, left wing, low block, transition, striker.
No, I'd have Neto in transition, mate. I'd have
not at all.
Oh, no.
Not
as an outlet.
Zaha's been one of the best transition wingers in the last 5 years. That's where he made his bread and butter.
It is where he's made his bread and butter. But if you look at,
if anything, he's added to his bow
as a dribbler and as someone you can get the ball out to. There's
as a dribbler, there's no better dribbler in the league, bar maybe Alan St. Maximin. He's the only one that's maybe fouled as much or more. No,
in terms of fouls, yes. I will.
No, you said dribbling and transition. Zaha is the best dribbler in transition in the league, bar maybe Alan St. Maximin. So and Pedro Neto has got 5 years left on his contract. Absolutely.
This is the thing. This is the main thing. Forget everything else. This is the main thing for me, because forget everything, because there's no way you have a 50 million pound player with a 5-year contract. There's just no way. If he didn't sign that extension, I think we would have signed him already, I reckon.
Absolutely.
If the interest was real.
Again, unfortunately, I need to cap this. Okay, guys, I need to do my stuff. I want to talk about Mudryk. He's somebody that not a lot of people may know, but I've got enough comments about him. How many games have you voted?
Do you remember, George, we both got a DM, same DM.
Yeah,
I got
the same comp.
In July.
Did you get it as well?
Yeah, in July.
We all got the same DM for the same comp saying, watch this guy. And I was like, wait a second, hang on, who is this kid? He looks, we might as well get started. And he's such an amazing dribbler, seems to be playing off the left a lot. It looks like he wants to grab the ball and just run. He seems like a very good runner with the ball. What do you guys reckon? I mean, for me, I think
Look,
it's an
I don't
interesting
want it.
prospect,
I
but
don't want it to be a very big section because I'll be honest with you, I haven't been able to complete my scouting. But one thing I will tell you is I'm getting excited by him because he's got a lot of things that are phenomenal in terms of explosivity off a standstill. He is one of the most explosive options on the market right now from a standstill, barring only Kamaldeen Sulemana. He is the white PNP. You know, people are maybe afraid of that in terms of the injury concerns that comes with. But this is a boy that's box office. When he gets going, not only can he create space off a dime, which is not a Yeremy Pino, which is better than Pedro Neto, by the way. His explosive burst is better than all of these players. He just seems like he's running downhill. Now, he's got excellent ball striking both feet, probably the best ball striking attribute of what we've seen in terms of our linked comments. I think only Zaha will rival him for ball striking, but I would actually give it to Mudryk because he's really good left foot and right foot. I think Zaha is really good on his right foot. He's got very good ball striking on his left, but Mudryk has phenomenal power and a short backlift that he can do at either side. The one thing that Mudryk I've noticed isn't as great at is he's just go all the time. He's got zero concept of tempo. I think he's got excellent technique that when he can have a very big passing repertoire, but what he doesn't do is he doesn't slow the game down. He's somebody that just gas pedals constantly. Now he's young. That's not a big issue, but I think it's an issue for us. He's somebody that, I see a lot of similarities to Sane. I see it. I think he's a little bit better. He's somebody for me that is got more technique.
It's the explosiveness as well. That's what reminds me of Sane. That explosiveness off a dime. He's so explosive.
But he's explosive, but also he's got a great mind in transition. Like it's not even just the outside of the boot pass. Like when he is in transition, he chooses the right option as a pass. That's something I really like. I think Sane for me was somebody that was a little bit better with his ball carrying. He made better decisions ball carrying.
Yeah.
This guy just goes. He's downhill. He won't stop, and he won't be afraid to choose the most difficult option all the time. Now, is this somebody that translates to the Premier League? This is somebody that I take a risk on in terms of the leagues, if you're asking me.
I'm not looking at Sane.
No, we're not looking at Sane. But, is this somebody that can give us the 15 goals and assists? I think he stands a much better chance than Pedro Neto because he's got a lot more qualities as a finisher than Pedro Neto. But is he in a worse league? Absolutely. Have we seen a lot more better opposition with Pedro Neto? Absolutely. So there's a lot more of an element of risk with him. But I will say he's probably around the same price as Wilfried Zaha. So he's like 20 million pounds less for probably a greater risk, but potentially a greater reward. So, yeah, in terms of comparisons, I'll just go quickly to Chris because I don't want to talk too much on him because, again, I don't feel I've watched enough to be an authoritative.
Neither have I. I've seen like 3 comps.
Yeah, like this is just what I've seen from 2 or 3 games that I can give you guys an opinion on him. But Chris, what do you make of him in your early take watching?
Well, I watched him a bit. I watched him even before they said what's it called? Before that guy sent the comp at the end of July. I think he's a great talent. Obviously great ball striking. I think he's like very unorthodox gait, which makes him like very weird to tackle. And it's obviously it's also very beneficial to him. Obviously he's had decent games in Europe as well for Shakhtar. The big question really is how well will he translate to the Prem and how quickly will he translate? Because I do think he'll translate very well, but how quickly will he be able to produce the same numbers
but you know what I'm worried about, Chris? Like, I don't know if you're going to get to weaknesses, but I just want to talk on a weakness. I don't know how he does in tight spaces and against a low block necessarily. I mean, he's got all of the qualities to excel there, but, in terms of what we've seen if you see the Ukrainian league, the spaces in transition are nuts. So for a player like him that runs downhill, you're basically catering to his strength. And even in terms of Scotland, and when you look at internationals, that's a lot more space. So it's just something I don't know how he does in tight spaces because I haven't seen him enough and do that. Now, does he have the technique to control things in tight spaces? Absolutely. Like I don't doubt, but I need to watch more to really be sure. But that's something that I would probably.
I think he's got like very quick feet. He's very good on both feet. Great ball striking, very good dribbling, very good ball carrier. But I think obviously in tight spaces, I haven't seen him enough to say it. But overall, I don't think he's the same quality in tight spaces as he is in big spaces. I think he's mastered the outside the boot technique pass,
Yeah,
which obviously for a
it's his
player
favorite. It's his
on
trick.
both feet, yeah, it's something that he loves doing, the outside the boot technique pass. He hasn't mastered every pass, and I think one thing he will need to learn as well is when to slow down, because
Tempo.
right now he just seems he goes 100 miles per hour the whole time, like
Yeah.
similar to Martinelli. He goes 100 miles per hour the whole time, and he will need to slow down eventually. But do I think he's a great talent? Yes. Do I think we'll sign him? I'm not sure, but I do think obviously the comps have been kind to him. I've watched some games and they have been kind to him, but he's done, like Real in Europe, he did well. But would I prefer him to the others? No. But would he be cheaper? Like the
I think
other,
he'd be
mean Zaha, would
35 million pounds.
he'd be cheaper probably, yeah. But he just adds to the youth factor that we already have a lot of youth.
Can we just say one thing, right? Because I think we're going to move on to central midfield before, because
Yes.
we haven't talked about any of the other clubs. I want James Maddison. I don't care. I'm not gonna say
So
anything.
one
else.
second, let me set you up, Karen. Let me set you up in terms of hold on, because I've been a James Maddison proponent for a while, but let me set you up because this is an important comment here in terms of our winger preferences, indicating that Emil was always going to be somebody that was going to be inside, and this idea that he was best off the left is really poor because
he's
guys,
a right
been training.
central midfielder.
He's a right central midfielder from when he grew up. He did that during Huddersfield. I think people were just being rigid to what they were seeing and not understanding what he did in terms of his youth. But Emil absolutely 100% is going to be our 8 long term. That's his position. So I think it kind of leads us into the debate now. We've talked about the reasons for a forward. Central midfielder wise, we've got Emil Smith-Rowe, we've got Vieira, we've got Lokonga, we've got Granit Xhaka, we've got Partey and Elneny. We've got and Odegaard. Sorry. We've got how many of that is that now? Guys, help me out. That's
7.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's 7 midfielders. Do we need an 8th? And I know people will say, but is the quality the same, George? Do you really care? Look, Granit Xhaka, by the way, has already totaled his career totals right now in terms of goal and assist output. How he's playing right now is phenomenal. But I'll tie in central midfielder in terms of a debate. Do we need it for the numbers? And if you're not saying that you need it for numbers and you need quality, what kind of quality are you looking to replace? Because we've just bought somebody who is supposedly on paper the weaknesses of what Odegaard provides, but you've got the alternative profile in Vieira. Now you've got ESR and you've got Lokonga, who's a passing 8, right-footed, by the way, and you've got Granit Xhaka, who's a lefty. Like, what role in the central midfielder are you looking to solve, essentially, with a buy right now? And can you do that without a major sale in that department? Because, again, I'm not even talking Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I'm talking between Lokonga, between Xhaka, Vieira, Odegaard, Emil Smith-Rowe, and then Partey and Elneny are their own thing in the anchors. And we can debate having a better cover for these players. But, guys, we've got 7 people in that. I don't know if people realize this. So I'm asking, what do you think is the role that you're going to look for, Curran? Now you can talk about how much you love James Maddison, because that is my boy.
Look, okay. I really feel like a lot of people are looking at numbers and not roles and profiles. I feel like a lot of people are just saying, "Oh, we've got 7 midfielders. It's enough." We have bought a Swiss Army knife in our. You can call him a Bernardo Silva, whatever you want to call him. In Fabio Vieira, this boy has played across central midfield. He's played left wing, right wing, and left back. You can play anywhere. Okay, so if you're looking at someone who I don't even count. I count Vieira as a player for the
beautiful.
pitch.
Oh, sorry, you just transformed. I hope somebody got a screenshot for that. Go on. I mean, you're kind of
no.
Curran, come back in because
no.
You're moving
okay,
back.
back,
so come back in.
Oh my god, no. Am I back? Am I okay now?
Okay, you're back, but yeah.
No, no. That was the worst time. Literally the worst time. Anyway, I want someone who can provide you with enough ball who's basically a great ball striker. You can play either side of your 6. You need someone in a big game to step up and create in terms of set piece threat, in terms of ball striking, who can overlap on the right. You can put him in a big game and he'll step up. He's a leader in the dressing room. He's a leader off the pitch, on the pitch. That is what I want. I want our KDB. I want someone who can take this team and against Liverpool, Man City, against Chelsea, against Tottenham, and stand up and be that guy that wins us games. That's what I want.
Again, we're talking about experience, right, Curran? So James Maddison, for me, is the Zaha of the central midfield department. He is the guy that guarantees that 15 goals and assists. He's that experience. He's that person that gives you that missing profile of a consistent crosser in the half space.
I was rolling as well.
He's an excellent offset pieces. He's somebody that absolutely is kind of that experienced version of what you may call the central midfielder needs, right? He is that Zaha logic. Now, in terms of what we need going into the World Cup, I'm going to go to like Chris in terms of what you think we might need, because I'll mention a name that you don't like and I don't like, but we have to.
All of us
Yuri
don't
Tielemans,
like.
Yuri Tielemans, and I'm sorry. Look, it's a player. I'm going to start with the positives so that people can hear the critique. Okay, look, I'm learning. Yuri Tielemans is somebody that immediately becomes probably our best pace of pass in this team. He has an unbelievable pace of pass. He always puts the right purchase on his passes, and he always is excellent in terms of going forward. I think he's a very forward-thinking passer, and he's got a very good passing range. He does. Now, again, I'm going to critique this. When he's pressed, he's not the same player. The same passing range that you're talking about, press resistance, I've seen a lot of stuff that he's got excellent half-turn press resistance. I'm not too sure about that. What he does have is if you give him space, like Lukunga, he will kill you. That is for sure. Then when you go in terms of his defensive side of the game, when people are talking about, okay, look, the running memes are funny, okay? They are funny. But ultimately what I have a problem with is he's very static in his tackling technique. He's very two-footed. If you watch, he's always rigid in his tackling technique.
He's on the back of his heels.
Yes, but he does it with both feet. He doesn't attack players with one foot. He doesn't guide them out to a byline. It's very rigid, and I don't like that tackling technique at all. It's why he can't be very successful with it. But in terms of running back to goal, that's something I don't even want to touch. But Chris, I'm going to go to you, mate. The Yuri Tielemans is basically the cheap version of experience. That's the logic with it. Probably going to be 25 to 30 million pounds because, again, he's in the last year of contract. Do you think he gets ahead of this version of Granit Xhaka? Simply.
No. Do I think Tielemans is a good player? Yes. Do I think he's... I'll just say, I think when he comes in, he'll create bigger defensive holes, much bigger defensive holes, if he comes in on that left-hand side, especially with Zinchenko there, who, despite being great for us on the ball, has struggled defensively, and we've been so good that it hasn't really mattered. But against Crystal Palace, for example, Jordan Ayew thrived, who is awful 1v1. He's not a good dribbler. Well, he's a good dribbler sometimes in tight spaces. Very occasionally, he's good in tight spaces. But he did very well against our left-hand side because Xhaka had to step up very high to make up for Ødegaard not being in the game. And if Tielemans did that, on the way back, he's even worse than Xhaka defensively in transition. And he's even worse standing up, defending. Like 1v1, stand him up. Tielemans is way worse than Xhaka, so we lose a lot defensively. And in the big games, because that's essentially where we need a midfielder. We don't need them necessarily in the smaller games.
We don't need depth. We need someone to change a game.
Yeah, we need someone to allow us to match the bigger teams, Man City.
Chris, can I ask something
Liverpool
really quick?
In midfield, and he doesn't.
Can I ask you something that I think people keep forgetting? Does he stop Newcastle? Does he stop Everton? Does he stop Brighton? Does he stop
Southampton? Yeah.
Does he stop those games?
That's it. That's exactly what I was meaning. Like, we need someone who bridges the gap in the
because
games
you were talking about.
in.
Sorry, I'll let you finish your point. But you were talking about City and Liverpool. I don't think that's the point. I'm asking. I think what we need is somebody to stop those outside the top 6 games. In fact, because he's not starting over Xhaka in a big game. That's not what he's doing. In fact, everybody.
George, let me just tell you.
Sorry, 1 second, Karen. Let's let Chris finish his thought because I did interrupt him. But again, many people say even if you buy Yuri Tielemans, he will deputize for Xhaka. That doesn't mean Xhaka is not going to start the big game. So I'm asking, does he solve the problems when we didn't face teams outside the top 6 that we struggled against? Does he solve them for you?
No. Because one big issue we had against all those teams is the transition. Despite dominating possession in some of those games, in transition versus Southampton versus Palace versus Brighton, we suffered.
Mhm.
We always suffer in transition versus Palace, especially. And is a guy like Tielemans going to help us, especially away from home? Because at home we can somewhat deal with them. Not Palace, but the other teams we can somewhat deal with them. And no, he won't help us in that defensively. Like as I said, in transition suicide is putting Tielemans and Zinchenko together. Like it really is, especially the way we've looked in transition recently. Like it's essentially suicide putting them together. And I'm not the biggest Tielemans hater. Like George hates him more than me, and you can ask anyone that speaks to both of us. People call George a Tielemans hater. Facts, but I'm saying that he doesn't add enough to bridge the gap in the games that we need someone to add something. And obviously, he's a good player. And last thing I want to say is I think he's a bit similar to Neto in the sense that people are translating to what he does in his best areas that he can do it anywhere on the pitch.
That's what I was telling you when we were discussing him offline.
Yeah, he's not the same caliber on the left hand side than he is on the right. He's better right centre mid. That's why he plays right centre mid. He plays right centre mid, and Dewsbury Hall plays left centre mid. That's where they both thrive. And we're asking someone. First of all, you're asking someone to step up in a level. Leicester are bottom half team right now. You're asking him to step up, to move to the left, and then to move to the left, and then to take all the responsibility that Xhaka has in this team. Like you're asking a lot of a player who just won't do what you need.
Okay,
and then
do you disagree or agree with this statement that in terms of teams outside the top six, when we lost Newcastle, did you think we needed control or to compete in transition? When we lost Brighton, in terms of the 3-game stretch between Southampton, Brighton, and Palace, was it control that we lacked of the football, or was it competing in transition? Maybe if you go back, Everton, Man United, what did us in those games?
Jules.
It was Jules and transitions. Like United, we legit scored and lost in transition. We didn't score in control of the game.
Yeah.
Essentially all 5 goals in that game were scored in transition. And Tielemans doesn't help us defensively in transition or offensively in transition. He may be a better tackler than other centre mids we have. I'll give that to him. He may be a stronger tackler. He's a reckless tackler, but he's a strong tackler at the same time. Like he's better tackler than Zinchenko.
Honestly, I would rather Grealish if we're
who's
going
a left
that
back.
route.
But
If we're looking for just any centre mid, I'd go for Grealish. Go Grealish. He's free. No one's getting him.
He doesn't help us win doors in the games that we lost doors in, literally. And that's what we needed. We need someone to win the doors where we lost versus Brighton, where we lost versus Palace. Like Brighton, we suffer against a lot more, just as much as City and Liverpool. Like we don't beat Brighton enough. We've beat them once at home in the last 5 attempts. Like we don't beat teams like Brighton enough. We don't beat teams like Palace enough. Southampton, we don't beat them enough either. So these games, as well as Liverpool and City, which is what they needed that to win the league against each other, and we'll need to beat them if we want to win the league. Does Tielemans help you do that? No.
So first, Curran, before you go, because I'm going to set you up, guys, we have to talk about other teams. So I'm going to give you your chance to say your last piece, but I'm cutting you off, both of you, man. I'm sorry, everybody in the comments, you guys, we're going to have to move on to other teams, okay? Look, say your last thoughts, Curran, in terms of Yuri.
I agree.
There was somebody somebody that I've peddled for a while now in so many group chats, which is Fabian Ruiz, who I really, really like. But again, alas, he's probably headed to PSG. Do we need a central midfielder? I think
I don't care what we need. I don't care what
one of the
position
big
we
comments
need,
that essentially we've had is until the World Cup, we can get by in terms of, by the way, an attacker and a central midfielder. But I think we all agree it's a given. We're going to buy somebody. So if we get somebody, do you believe we even need a midfielder? And if that is, you can also do Yuri hate if that's what you really want. I'll let you get it off your chest.
The one thing I'm going to say is are we building a top 4 team or are we building a title team? If we're building a top 4 team, get Yuri Tielemans. Get someone like that. Get Florian Grilic for if you want to build a title winning team, a Champions League winning team, we need a leader, we need goals, and we need assists. Those are 3 things we need from the signing, whatever signing it is. So I understand the allure of Pedro Neto because I'm someone that likes Pedro Neto myself, and I understand the needs for Euro Tielemans if you want to go down that route, because it's a good cost-effective option. But we're not looking for cost-effective options. We're looking to maximize the value in the market, and we're looking to maximize the goals and assists from this team. And I don't care if you want to go down the center midfield route and move Vieira wide, or you want to go the winger route and have Vieira central. I don't care which way you want to do it. We need goals. We need leadership. So
can you answer this question for Blaze, Kern, really quickly? If we don't need Tielemans, and Tielemans is not somebody that you're really interested in,
we need Kevin De Bruyne.
What kind of
we need Kevin De Bruyne. We need, yeah.
Well, some would argue that, you know, Fabio Vieira is that consistent half space crosser that you're asking. Mm-hmm. Is there another profile that you believe that the team lacks? And by the way, that could be for next summer, by the way. Like, it doesn't just have to be like, what profile of player do you believe that this team needs? And I'll end on Chris giving what he wants as well. But then, guys, we have to stop. Like, it's been an hour. We need to talk about other teams. So go.
For me, I feel like we need someone to deliver basically a ball striker that will be inevitable in key moments, whether it be breaking a deadlock, whether it be in a big title clash, or whether we need someone that can then get us out of a hole. Because when we're in losing game states, we tend to lose our heads a bit. We need a leader on the pitch that can get us a goal when you need it. That's what I want. That's the main thing I want. I want a leader who can change games. That's the main thing. And that's why I keep saying Kevin De Bruyne or someone of that ilk. Someone who is going to take the game by the scruff of the neck, get you a goal, get you an assist.
You might want somebody that's the Tony Adams of a certain something. But in terms of, Chris, what kind of midfielder are you looking for? All right. What kind of midfielder are you looking at?
I just essentially a better version of what Xhaka's doing now. So an all-rounder, box-to-box 8 who's able to make good late runs, make good third, fourth man runs into the box, offer good crosses in the half space, and be reliable in transition. We can't rely too much on Partey in transition and too much on Partey to win second balls. I prefer all 11 players, or 10, all 10 players in our team to be able to hold their own 1v1s both ways, offensively and defensively, and to win their duels 7 out of 10. If they get 10 duels, I hope they win 7. So I think we need a all-round 8, because we're going to have our final third specialist at right centre mid, it seems, in Vieira, Smith Rowe, whoever it's going to be, or Erdegaard even, I forgot his name, I don't know why. Oh, I know why, but yeah, an all-rounder 8, and I need an all-rounder 8, an all-rounder player. Like Xhaka has been that. Like there's not many midfielders this season have played to the level Xhaka has, or even been better than what Xhaka has this season in that role. So I need someone to replicate what Xhaka's doing with maybe a bit more PMP, essentially.
Yeah. So look, guys, ultimately what we've got to do is we've got to move on. Guys, thank you so much. We're going to have to go to the other small teams. Absolutely. Look, I think the fun place is United. We've talked at length.
Can we just talk about the breaking news that we just received?
We can. Hold on. Let me set it up. Jesus,
what's the breaking news?
You're like frothing at the mouth. Jesus, let me set it up. Relax. Calma. I'm hosting. I am the captain now. Okay? Shush. So we're going to talk United. We're going to talk about what kind of a shambles their window is. Basically going for a right center back that now is a midget at left center back. I'm being facetious. But when you move on to basically 100 million at Antony, and then of course United now also trying to challenge Chelsea for Oba. That is the news that Curran couldn't wait to kind of get out there. United's
who's challenging for who?
United are challenging.
United are in for Oba, yeah. Demartio.
So first thing is, what kind of a farce is it
that you're
going to chase Frankie de Jong for so long and not have a backup? And then if you're going to get a backup, your backup is a completely different destroyer profile as an anchor in Casemiro, who again, on his own, it's a horrible deal, £400,000 a week at like 70 million is the final price, by the way. It's lunacy. They're not learning. They're doing the typical United thing that they always did. And, I'm really starting to worry about Erik ten Hag's talent ID, because regardless of how funny we think it is that, he can't get a target outside of the Eredivisie, it's kind of it's very strange that a player of Antony's quality is going for at least 90 million euros. So it's something that I think that United are going to do irreparable damage to. I'm going to laugh. I don't think there's much analysis to go here, guys, so I want to move on a little bit quickly. We're going to go to Chelsea and other teams next, but quickly get it out of your system because Kern's been smiling this whole bit and he can't not shit on United. So you've got a minute
It's
and a
my
half,
thing.
Kern, to get it out of your system. A minute and a half, go. That's it.
Anthony, a 90 million bid rejected, and Fabrizio's gone in his emo girl phase where he's tweeting every 2 minutes about what Anthony's agents have told him. Then Casemiro for 70 million. Then a 2'2" midget at centre back. I don't even know. No right back reinforcement. No no striker. No right winger. I mean, they will get Anthony for 100 million. And if you listen to Richard Arnold, he said next summer we're fucked. So it's kind of peak for them. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to get into. Alba, what does Alba do? Alba's just going to run in. Alba's not the player they need. They need someone who can fit in Ten Hag's system. Ten Hag has played with Haller for the last couple of seasons. He likes a target man, someone to bounce things off of. That's not Aubameyang. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know what they're thinking of reinforcing areas they're already strong in while not addressing weaknesses. Malacia and Shaw versus Dallo and Varane, I don't understand.
It's a very
great,
convoluted plan, and I've never seen somebody interrogated at Sky Sports as much as he's done. And Kern, it's really glad you say that. It's like almost as though every Manchester United fan is pleading with you to kind of stop. Look, we had you. So, guys, this is your moment to get your screenshots of Kern. But Chris, I'm going to go
to United
in terms of, are you like Curran pleading for this pain to stop, or give me more? Because this is actually very funny. It's beyond that. It's going to the point where their fans now are doing irreparable backstabbing and trying to come back and justify what they're moving like. But ultimately, they're doing the same thing that they've done for years, isn't it? They're buying a superstar name that they don't need, that doesn't fix them, and putting them on huge money. So, give me your quick thoughts on Manchester United's window in general before we actually get into some kind of interesting signings that I want to get into.
Well, firstly, they seem obsessed with this left-footed right winger. Like he has to be left-footed, otherwise we can't sign him. 90 million's insanity. Like literally insanity for a worse player than Sancho, who is not even a right winger. I think is probably the dumbest deal of the summer, and they're going to pay more. I didn't even realize that 90 got rejected. I thought
who's stupider, Ajax for rejecting or United for putting and continuing talks? Chris, they're not. Laurie Whitehouse.
Well, Ajax is smart because they know more money's coming. They know more money's coming, so they're smart. But I do think that's dumb. I think before the window started, I said United have to sign a DM. They haven't signed one since Matic, and they signed one who doesn't help them in build-up. He does help off the ball. I'll give them that. Yeah. They signed another kicker. They signed a good defensive midfielder off the ball. I think it would be better for them right now to put him in a pivot, give someone next to him to dictate the build-up, like Real Madrid have done for years. He's never touched the ball when they progress.
Chris, they invert him. Real Madrid,
they move him up
he
the
is
field.
So bad, they put him as the number 10 and they drop Kroos and Mudryk back to build up. That's what they do.
But it's something that they've done that's won them 5 Champions Leagues in the past 10 years. Mm-hmm. And is United willing to do that? For them, I hope so. Give him the tools to thrive. Let him kick players. Like we saw, he gets dossiers on referees to know when and when he can't kick, how much he can kick, how to speak to referees to stay on their good side, like all this stuff. He wants to know that. Malacia has been an okay signing, good signing. He's averaging 2 tackles a game, top 10 in the league. So he's been decent so far. And then the Martinez, obviously United fans were gassed after he played against the ghost in Firmino versus Liverpool. So he was good. I'll say that again. He was good. Obviously, there was lies that he won more.
Sentence for me one more time. No?
Wait. There was lies that he won more aerial duels than Van Dijk in that game. Van Dijk won 4 out of 4. He won 0 out of 1. So he didn't win an aerial duel versus Liverpool, anyways. But yeah, 150 million for Martinez and Antony. It's going to be more because Antony was not accepted.
It was.
No,
It's
but
gonna
say
be
say
more.
say the aerial duels again, because I got compared
Yeah.
to someone getting stabbed for saying that it was a lie that
He won
someone
0 out of
like I don't really get the I mean, hi Terry, I know you're
he won
watching,
0 out
so
of 1
if
aerial duels, and then Van Dijk won 4 out of 4. But yeah, he's not going to be good
very
for
funny.
for
No,
what 40 38 games.
how many how many aerial strikers are there in this league now? Have
Well,
It's
you
not
we've
going to
looked?
be
tried.
that though. It's simply the fact that he's small that they're going to target it anyways. Even if
Yeah.
he's not the one that they target, even if he's not the one, there's going to be more long balls and cross into the box simply because he's on the pitch. It's not about they're going to target directly him. It's simply the fact that more balls are going to be in the air just because he's on the pitch, because he's so small. And he may win some, like he won more than he lost versus Brentford. He lost more than he won versus Brighton. He didn't win any versus Liverpool. And he got bullied by Welbeck. Like Welbeck just leaned on him. You don't need to win the aerial. Just lean on him and spin him and you going behind like Welbeck did. Like people are going to pick on him because he's so small, and you can't have a centre back that small. And even when he wins aerial duels, he heads the ball into players' feet, like the
Yeah,
opposition
and look,
players' feet.
guys,
So
to go from one stupidity to another stupidity, we cannot talk about Chelsea. This is the part of the pod where we're now going to comment on Chelsea's window, where essentially, now let's get this right. Yeah, they're sending Levi Colwill and Maddison out on loan, but they're spending.
they gave them
World,
a better left centre back
hold
and
on.
spent 60 mil.
Let me land.
Sorry,
Hold
they
on.
gave them a better left centre back and spent 60 million
They gave
on a worse.
on a worse wing back, a deputy wing back, and then they got Sterling, who I think is a good signing, by the way. I'm not going to shit on everything. I think Sterling is a good signing. Koulibaly makes sense if you're keeping Levi Colwill, but they're not. And then they sold Tamori Guehi, for the purposes of replacing him with Fofana on a world record fee right now. And they've sold Livramento. And they're at the end of the day, guys, Tuchel is still going to play a back three, and he's still going to put the best right back in the world at right center back. You're then going
No,
to
he's
have
not actually
probably
anymore. I mean, surely Fofana plays on in
No,
that three now.
no.
Kante is injured and he's not going to move Loftus-Cheek into midfield, but Loftus-Cheek has been good for 2 games. And Tuchel has this thing of when one thing does well, like it did versus Spurs, rightfully so, it did well. Why do you need to continue to do the same thing? Like, move on. You beat Spurs. You almost beat Spurs. You should have beat Spurs with it. You dominated Spurs for 70 minutes of a game. What he continued to do is like Tuchel switch it up. Like you've got the best right back in the world in Reece James, top 10 final ball in the league in Reece James, and another top 10 final ball in the league in Cho, who seems to be going on loan. Obviously, they sold Werner, so they have no strikers right now. Havertz has done nothing at striker, so
They're going into another year with Mount Havertz.
Broja's injured. Broja's injured, and then so the front line is really Mount Havertz, Sterling, and Aubameyang is a necessity. I said this, Aubameyang, I'd sign him like what they did with Drogba, where they broke him in as a striker coach / liaison. I'll barely play him. Let him just help.
Man said,
take his intelligence.
Let me pay 25 million
take his
pounds
intelligence.
for a player coach ambassador.
Yes.
Know.
Don't play him. Take his intelligence, because for I said from the start of the summer, just play Broja. There's not many better strikers you can buy on the market.
Part of the problem is Gordon is going to be receiving a lot of the hate for what is an inconsequential market outlook from Todd Bowley.
It's not his fault.
Even going to get him?
It's not his fault. Maybe they don't get him, but Chris or Curran rather, it's the way that Chelsea have been moving in terms of it lacking a plan. When you're essentially looking at a team that is recruited strikers that require prime creativity, when the creativity comes from wide, it makes 0 sense. And then I'm sitting there and you're spending a world record fee on a defender when you've got a back three system that you've already sold all of your defenders. Like, this was your own doing. You sold Livramento, Guehi, Tamori. You wanted to sell Azpilicueta. You wanted to sell Alonso, Christensen, Rudiger. You did this to yourself. And Thomas Tuchel is continuously, Tuchelaban is really a thing. This guy is actually destroying and self-destroying his team. He should have switched to a back four a lot earlier. He continues not to do it. He's forcing himself in terms of the issue. And I do agree with this comment in terms of it's unfair on Gordon because he actually is a very good prospect. I think people that are looking at him and saying, I don't know what scouts see, are actually being very disingenuous. There's a lot of stuff to work with Gordon. Is he worth 60 million? Hell no. He's worth,
No chance,
45, maybe 40. But in
If
terms of a
that,
prospect,
yeah.
there's a lot of stuff to work with there. He's
But wait,
excellent
let's go.
engine,
I think
great. Yeah, but you know what? But this isn't really the case.
but the
right?
thing is, let me say something on this. He's publicly said, I don't want to work on the transfers. He doesn't want
No,
involvement in. But nowadays, every coach has to have involvement in the way the team is going to be played. You can't not be involved in transfers and then decide when a player comes, you're not going to play him. Like, they had a very good dynamic with Lukaku and Cho, and he barely played either of them when they were there, just because he didn't want them. And Lukaku, we'd even speak about that. They loaned him out after buying him for 100 million last year. Like, they broke the British Premier League transfer record, and then they sold him, or they got rid of him the year after. But Tuchel has good things. Yes, he's never improved the player. Attackers do not thrive in his system. All these attackers, no attacker has thrived at Chelsea, barring Mount, and he's not an attacker. He's just scored goals. He got worse as he scored. He played worse last season than he did the season before, as he
but
scored
Chris,
goals.
you know what the funniest part of all of
And
this,
no
guys,
one's
is
played well on them.
no, but the funniest part is they're doing these moves and they're putting them on massive wages. That, guys, it's the exact same thing as the United effect. That they're buying youngsters too. That it's going to block them to be able to change it in the future when Tuchel doesn't work, when he does implode, when he's bought all this talent that they're going to be struggling in a top four battle.
Have you
which they
seen this
are at
October run
pace.
though?
Yeah, I have, but that's what I'm getting to. Like, it's very much a case of that Chelsea are gonna be in trouble, and if since this has gone through with Fofana, that takes their spending, by the way, to 250 million pounds. Do you guys know that?
Second time in history, and it's only only themselves that have done it.
People say that City are the ones that have been ruining the market. Chelsea have always been, and they always will be, somebody that ruins the market. To spend 250 million pounds and not drastically change your team is something that is impressive. I'm not even going to lie. Like, to scattergun approach that and not improve yourself drastically is kind of impressive. But look, ultimately what I do see is I'm being a little bit facetious and I'm being a little bit unfair on Chelsea because I think factually they're going to be better defensively. Not that they ever needed to change that, but they will be better defensively with Fofana and Koulibaly as a back three. They will. It's better than Rudiger and who they lost.
Do you think
ultimately... Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think their build-up will be better than last season?
It will be, because Koulibaly is an excellent build-up player. I just don't know if he's got the same degree of defending in wide spaces. That's something that I do worry about. And between Fofana and Koulibaly, they do have two sides of the pitch now that can offer what Rudiger did in one. So they will have marginally someone who's better in build-up as well. Cucurella is somebody that, as a wing-back, he adds depth in that position, and especially in build-up particularly. And with Chilwell out, he is somebody that will shore them up defensively. But again, is that what Chelsea needed? For me, they needed a much bigger midfield presence, an anchor. They needed a little bit more of a reference up top. They needed somebody like an Ivan Toney, up top to kind of bring others into play. Maybe they needed another forward for me. I don't think I would have gone with Gordon necessarily. I would have liked another outlet wide. I would have preferred Sterling to be on the right than he is on the left. But
yes.
And I would have preferred them to use Callum Hudson-Odoi at left wing, who is the creative profile that they need in the final ball. But again, why am I sitting here helping Chelsea? I don't know. But guys,
I think I want to speak on Koulibaly before. Yeah, yes. I'll go then on my last thoughts. With Koulibaly, when it was first like, oh, Koulibaly's going to sign, I was like, no, surely not. They're going to use Cole, like, surely. Then I realised, maybe they're just going to play him right centre-back. That's how it looked. Koulibaly right centre-back, Thiago Silva, who his own wife was saying that he's too old to consistently be playing central centre-back, and then Cole left centre-back. That's how I thought it should have been. And then Maddison back up left wing-back. Now Maddison is now scoring goals and getting red cards at Burnley. And Cucurella, according to the news, is going to be playing left centre-back tomorrow with Chilwell left wing-back.
I prefer that, though, for him.
I do too. I think as well, Chilwell is better than him. You're paying more money for a worse left back. And for Cucurella, it allows him to have less responsibility with his final ball and focus more on 1v1 defending and build up, which will be better for him. Do I think he's the best 60 million left centre back you could have got? No. Is he the best 60 million left centre back, left wing back hybrid you could have got? No. Like, he wasn't worth 60 million at all. And then Reece James has to go back to right wing back, surely. Kante's injured again. Jorginho's not good enough. Kovacic gets injured in and out. He's played less games or as less minutes than Kante in the past 4 years, so he's just as injury prone. They both consistently get injured. So, and then Mount Wolf eventually, I think, be moved back into midfield. Gallagher is played off the bench now and him and Jorginho, he can't carry for Jorginho, so he hasn't looked good either. So I think the way Tuchel has done things has not helped him, has not helped the players. He still hasn't moved to a back four. And we said last season, at the start of last season, Chelsea could do something if by December they switch.
Well,
Like,
the thing is, Chris, you know what?
to switch, but they
Their
haven't
best
done so.
11, their best 11 in terms of a back three for me actually is Cucurella, left center back, then Koulibaly and Fofana. Like, in terms of a back three there, and you've got Chilwell and Reece James as your wing backs, and like in terms of the system, it can work, but ultimately, it's not what they needed. They needed a refresh in midfield, they needed a reference point up top, and they needed another option in defense because they got rid of all of them. But I have no sympathy when you sell Livramento, Tomori, Guehi in the same windows, and you loan out Colwill and Maddison, who are there for you to have your rebuild. You could have spent all of that money on what I just said and employed your Halo.
And they got rid of Tammy.
And you got rid of Tammy Abraham. It's just the list
getting rid of Cho now.
And they're getting rid of Callum Hudson-Odoi. And so if you ask me, are they just dumb? Yeah, there's something missing up there. And they have zero direction. But ultimately, one thing that I've got to do, I've got to move it on, and I want to go to Curran. Mate, I want you to tell me your biggest surprise of the transfer window in terms of non-traditional Big Six. What's your favorite signing that you're like, ooh, I kind of want to be interested?
Tottenham's not a Big Six club, man. Big Five.
I said what I said, Chris. I didn't stutter.
I'm saying.
So, Curran, what's your favorite transfer?
Maybe Scamacca, actually. I quite like Scamacca to West Ham. I think that's something that's going to be. I think I like how Moyes is kind of just slowly integrating him, and he's not pushing him straight away. He's letting him get adjusted because, especially with Paqueta coming in, it's going to be interesting to see how that midfield works. I don't know if he's going to play him in a 10 or more further back behind the ball. Maybe I think he'll play him in a kind of a box-to-box role, but it'll be interesting to see if he replaces Souček or maybe goes a bit more forward. But Scamacca, for that price and for what they needed someone to play off Antonio or have Antonio play off more. Like, I think he's going to be a great signing for them. I think that's a really interesting signing. I think in terms of my favorite signing, it's Leicester signing no one. I think that's something that's been really, really, really good. I think that should really continue. I mean, they're not going to they finally got some money for Fofana, so maybe they do sign with someone, but no goalkeepers. Keep that up, guys. Really, really good. But yeah, I think Scamacca is a really interesting signing. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. Maybe.
What about your boy?
Maybe Kamara is a good one. Freuler as well to Nottingham Forest is interesting. I think Damsgaard is interesting as well. I think that's interesting.
So you know what we'll do is I'll give some names, and I'm going to ask the same question to
I know
Chris,
which one.
And then what we're going to end on is I
Palhinha
want
is a good
everybody
one.
to tell me what they think, who had the best value for money window in terms of a team, and then what we're going to end on is what you give Arsenal as your transfer window. So I'm going to just give some names. So of course, Chris, you've got Paqueta, Nunez, Isak, Nunez times 2. I would actually argue Mateus Nunez, but also Nunez at Liverpool. There's also been Freuler, how we talked about. He had Palhinha in terms of Fulham. Bert Leno, I know. It's a big for Fulham, trust me. Nottingham Forest, what they did. Brendan Aronson, coming into the league. Onana, Everton, we didn't even talk about. Idris Gueye, those two. That's a serious thing. I think it gets them out of the relegation zone on their own. These are just some names that, are things that are very interesting.
Neil Maupay we didn't talk about.
Neil Maupay, good. I don't want to talk about him, the bastard. I really don't like him. Is what it is. But Isak to Newcastle, of course, is, I think, the hipster dream for a lot of people in terms of what we're going to keep our eye on in terms of what happens. I don't think he guns, Callum Wilson, to be honest with you. But he's somebody that I think it was on the lips for
The
a lot
new
of
the
prospects
next
for a
8.
reason. The next
8 can.
So there's a lot. Kamara from Aston Villa. Aston Villa having a horrible window, by the way. And then you go down to Leeds. Sinistera down at Leeds is kind of an interesting name.
I know what mine is.
But what is yours? And
tell
tell me why it isn't Cheik Doucouré from Palace. But sorry, go on.
Well, he's been rubbish. Simply as a lone 6, as people have been saying on Twitter, he's been stripping. He's not. He's leaving so many gaps in transition. He's not been good. He's better in a pivot. But Estupinian, left back from Villarreal to the Cucurella replacement for 12 mil. Who's the same caliber player? Obviously, Colwell going the other way. Lingard for free. What was it? Morgan Gibbs White, who I think was Morgan Gibbs White was a bit expensive.
Well, then you've also got Aaron Hickey at
even
Brentford.
Though I do think,
you've got,
I know
Lewis
what mine is probably. I think Forest, despite having signed 10 plus players, I think Emmanuel Dennis has gone under the radar for 12 million to Forest. I think obviously he scored in his first. He scored in his debut, obviously in the cup. But I do think that would be a interesting signing because they've signed so much. Lingard, Dennis, Cheku Kouyaté, Taiwo Awoniyi, who scored versus West Ham.
Malcolm Abiue, your boy. You're not going to talk about him?
Obviously, but I was about to, but he's free signing, so you can't. And he's 18, so you
Southampton,
can't.
in terms of Romeo Lavia, their prospects. But again,
another youngster.
Gavin Bazunu as well.
Yeah, but I think that they've gone too young. But look here, you know what? I'm going to do some quick fire questions because we talked about.
I think Guedes. No, Guedes. You didn't say your boy.
That was my boy. That's my pick.
I think.
Chris,
I
you
think
calm down. That's my pick. Okay?
No, wait.
Okay.
I think that's a very good signing, simply because obviously he can play in the role of the striker, but he can't execute in the box. Everything outside the box, he can do very well.
Let me talk about my boy. Talk about your pick of the window. Simple. Who's your pick?
Do Guedes to piss him off.
This is ball over passion. You're passionate about him, but I'm going to talk about him. Football. I'm talking about football here. He's a very good player. He was very good in his debut versus Spurs, obviously. I think he's a very good transition threat. He's very good 1v1, great ball striking, both feet, right wing, left wing striker.
We've described his profile in
There's a reason why Georgia's spoken about him a lot. But no, I just did that to piss him off. I think Emmanuel Dennis is an intriguing one. It hurts. Yeah. Obviously, it benefits Forest, but it hurts Watford coming back up. Zaha was declined for 40 million, which was, I didn't know why that got rejected, but 40 million.
The Joao Pedro thing as well.
Yeah, 40 million to go to, what's it called? Newcastle. That's it.
Yeah.
40 million to go to Newcastle was, I thought was going to be a great signing. But I think there's been a lot. Obviously, last thing I want to talk about the window is that all the money that people have been complaining about how is the Premier League allowed to spend hundreds of millions more than the other top 5 leagues? And there was something I said, which is like, first of all, the Prem let everybody thrive. The winner of whoever wins the playoffs gets more money than whoever wins the Premier League. Like, they allowed it. They give the teams that are coming up a chance to thrive. They give the teams at the bottom a chance to progress through the table. We've seen Leicester win the league, and then they've stayed a top 8 team in the league since they've won the league. Like, they've been given a chance to progress. Wolves dwindled, came back up. They've been a top 10 caliber team for a very long time. Palace have progressed, but
West Ham.
Yes, they've given lower teams the chance to progress with their talents. Like, they don't. Is there any other league where you see the best team in the league take the second best teams in the league, captain and manager, in Sabitzer and Nagelsmann? Have you ever seen that before in any other league? No, you can't see that. No other league allows that to happen. The Premier League, there's a £60 million gap between whoever wins the league and whoever finishes 20th in revenue, whereas in Spain is a £110 million gap between 1st and 20th and a £60 million gap between 1st and 4th. Like, the Premier League is the best at distributing revenue between all 20 teams and allowing all the teams to have the same money. Like, City have one of the richest owners in the world, but a team like Newcastle can spend more, or a team like Forest can spend more money than them. But that could never happen in Spain, and they can't attract players simply because they can't afford them. But that's why you shouldn't give the team who wins the league 158 million and the team who finishes 20 or 48 million. Like, what are they going to do to come
Well,
back
they're
up? But yeah,
creating a
that's why.
monopoly. They know what they're doing, and I think it's my time as host to basically make you guys answer the questions, for God's sake. So it's going to be a quick
Okay.
fire question. All right, first I'm going to ask Corinne, and it's going to be the same thing for you, Chris. So you can think now. Which team has changed the most in the table from your predictions? Which
Easy.
team, because of the
Ooh.
transfer window that they've had, maybe moves the most, whether that's up or down? Who for you has basically saved through their work what could have been?
I know who yours should be,
Leeds.
Karen.
I think Leeds. I mean, Fulham obviously. I
Leeds.
think are gonna be Fulham in terms of getting. They're much better than I thought they were. I thought they were going to get relegated, but they just look much better than that. But in terms of
I
what they've
think that
done in
they're
the
going to be
window,
found out very, very soon. But
in
yeah,
terms of what they've done in the window, I think long term wise, they've made a lot of very smart investments. Leeds have. So
Mhm.
I think Leeds, in terms of spending in the window, I think Fulham look a lot better than I thought they would. Though I think that's two different answers. I think I was wrong about Fulham. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, Chris, how about you, mate? Like, who has gone up or down the most for you because of a transfer window?
Because of the transfers or just because of the period since we last predicted?
Well, the transfers since we last spoke and stuff. Who for you has changed their fortune for the worse or for the better? Like, who moves the most?
I
for
thought
you?
for Curran, I'll say mine after what I thought Curran was going to. I thought Curran would say Liverpool because they haven't addressed what they needed, so they won't win the league. I thought Curran would say that, but
Yeah,
Leicester haven't helped
traditionally.
themselves at all.
They haven't signed anyone.
They signed Smithy's
Keeper.
32-year-old for free. They signed it for free. That's the only sign they've made. But
They've
yeah,
lost Fofana.
Leicester. I think Leicester has been very detrimental to themselves. I think Brighton, despite Mopai looking weird, he barely played because of Welbeck, and they got 60 million and got a better left centre back and a same caliber left back for spending 10 million. So for 50 million net, they got a better left centre back and a better left back. So I think that is a great business for Brighton. So, and they're winning, like they're playing well, they're dominating teams. I'll be wary of how we play against them. But yeah, I think, and West Ham, despite the Paqueta deal for 40 million, is it 40
Well, they've spent
million?
almost
No.
100 something million, like
No,
150 million
Paqueta is
themselves. Almost.
Paqueta's 60
And they're
mil.
bottom three with all that
Sorry,
money
60 mil
spent.
euros. Sorry.
I think West Ham, like, look, they're not going to be there, but I'm going to shout out Everton. Despite everybody saying lack of transfers, I think Onana
And Forest
Gay,
actually, Forest has changed the most, obviously, because of they
Well,
signed
I don't know. I
more
think
than
Forest.
11 players.
No, they've signed the most. I don't know if they've changed the most in my predictions personally, but I think Everton have definitely changed the most for me. It was somebody that I was almost convinced of having relegation, but in terms of Onana and Idris Gueye, I think that's a very strong midfield pivot, and they're after a striker that's right. Che Adams is definitely the right kind of profile that I was looking at. I don't know if they get
Oof.
him, but it was definitely something that they could
What
get.
a baller.
And so yeah, I know they did. They got Gay as well as Onana. So I think that's a really good midfield pivot.
Idrissa Gana Gay, the one
Yeah,
they used to have.
yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't even see that.
And
seen
in
that.
terms of another team that I'm really a big fan of what they did, again, my second team is Brentford. I love Brentford's window. So I think they've done a lot of really great business in terms of Damsgaard, in terms of Aaron Hickey, in terms of that
Aaron
Hull
Hickey has
winger.
been good. He
Yes.
has been good.
And that Hull winger that
Lewis
they got.
Potter.
Yeah,
Lewis
yeah.
Potter.
Lewis Potter is a serious talent, so I think they've just been very,
Damsgaard as
very
well.
smart. In terms of somebody else that's probably moved, I'm gonna do the annoying, funny one. Manchester United. How do you spend 150 million pounds and get worse? Well, you have. I think if you get Anthony, I think that window has been horrendous, guys. Like, I think I fairly put them in sixth, but I genuinely think they're in issue.
No, you put them in seventh.
I did. Because I don't rate them, but I think they're in trouble, Chris. Like, I'm not even trying
Going lower.
of going lower. So, and I don't think that they've addressed their issues. At least with Chelsea, what they've got is they've got too much talent up top. That even if they improve the thing that they're good at, it still means that they won't go
But
lower.
they still have
They've still
Jorginho.
wasted money. They've still done these things. They haven't addressed their biggest need, but ultimately they still at least improved. United, I'm not even trying to be funny. I don't think they've improved. Lissandro Martinez at center back doesn't improve their build-up. Okay, he's going to get targeted.
Eriksen?
He's somebody, Eriksen up top. He's not good enough. I think Casemiro, again, is somebody that's going to, struggle, let's just say, in defensive midfield. So I think United is somebody that I'm going to be worried about. Well, not worried. I don't really care. More pain, the better. But in terms of other teams that have really moved, I think Bournemouth is somebody that hasn't moved, but I'm shocked at that they haven't given Scott Parker any funds.
They signed 5 players and a lot of them were free.
What
or
happened to
less than
quick
10
round?
million.
What happened to quick fire? What are we doing? Are we
He just
is
switched
there
to
another
Bournemouth
quick
from
fire?
United. That was quick.
It was quick
was
fire.
very
There was a
Calm
question.
yourself.
What happened to question?
I'm answering my own question, so I can give it to you. Okay, relax yourself. Okay. Now, last little bit of the window, and that what we're going to talk about is we'll end. We went away from Arsenal. We'll come back to Arsenal. So everybody in the comments, I'm going to give you guys a chance.
Wait, let me
for us to
ask you a
answer your
question. Actually,
questions.
before you ask that last question, let me ask you two a question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have 4 days left of the window because it's 10:30 p.m. So 4 days left of the window. From this point on, who do you think can sign the biggest difference maker, or who do you think will sign the biggest difference maker out of the 20 teams in the league?
That's a good question. I genuinely think Arsenal have the biggest chance of doing it. If you get somebody like a Wilfred
No.
Zaha, you really change the potential of the team. I don't know if the rumored targets of other people moves them a lot. Probably the only one would be Forrest with Awar. Still somebody that I believe quite highly in. So if he's gonna come to the league and he's gonna come to Forest, he's gonna do well like that. And that for me really does take Forest up in terms of what it could do for them surviving relegation. In terms of
What about Ismail Assar for Newcastle?
I think he'd be an extremely good signing, especially if Yao Pedro is definitely not happening from Watford, who I thought was a really good alternative as well. But if they're going to get Ismail Assar, the one issue I have with it, Chris, is I would have preferred a Moussa Diaby for them. When you talk about Ismail Assar, it's another potential left winger who Isak they just got, and Alan St. Maximin, they're becoming a little bit more of the Manchester United hogging of the left half space players.
Yeah.
It needed another right winger, so maybe some like Ray and Cherokee. But again, I think for me, Awar is probably one of the biggest, and I think that'll do something really big for Nottingham Forest. But I'll go to you guys. I'll reverse the question first. Curran, who do you think could give you the biggest impact in terms of a new signing between now and the end of the window?
Is the question could or will?
I don't know, Curran. Decide it.
It's both because we don't know. We don't know what will happen.
Yeah,
but the thing
even
is,
Awar
if we're saying could, I think the biggest if they do something, I don't think they will, but if they do something, Liverpool, they need a midfielder.
No, but
if they can sign a
but who? But you need to tie it with like a name. You can't just say like theoretically that Chelsea are going to get a midfield anchor. No, but
no.
tie it with like a rumored target.
I mean, have they been rumored with anyone?
They haven't. That's why I'm saying it doesn't make sense.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So if we're talking realistically in terms of who genuinely could, maybe Nottingham Forest, maybe, because the thing is, I don't really see many. I mean, I would say us, but I don't know, because it's Edwin Arteta. You don't we've leaked very little. I don't know if we know what's going to happen.
Okay,
I think we could have something.
Current. How positive are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Quick fire that we Arsenal are going to sign something.
8.
Okay, 80% confident. Chris, how about you?
But the thing is, we have last thing. We still have Ainsley and Bellerin to get rid of.
Here are the context police because they are stopping us. Absolutely. No, I think they're basically gone.
They're basically gone. But the thing is,
they're not stopping
need
anybody. But Chris, your quick thoughts. Do we sign somebody 1 to 10? Yay or nay?
Do we sign? No. Well, I don't think we sign someone.
Okay.
And I think if we get a midfielder, you have to learn Lokonga because we've seen the effect that not getting at least 2 games in a month So 2 out of the 4 games in a month. How that impacts his mind and how that impacts the way in which he plays when he does get the chance. He sulks and he's young. Like there's nothing you can blame for. He went from getting the armband at times and playing week in, week out at Anderlecht to starting playing week in, week out at Arsenal. Partey comes back fit and he doesn't play at all. So if we get someone in midfield, we loan him out. But no, I don't think we'll sign him.
Okay, last big surefire before we return it back to Arsenal to give this thing a grade, and that is, and I will answer the questions to give you guys time, but who is somebody that is in the most trouble now? So let's assume that no signings happen for that team and that player.
Oh, Leicester.
Or
Leicester
that club.
for sure.
Who is the worst? Yeah, so, I mean, you're Leicester, Chris?
Leicester, United as well, but United, Chelsea and Leicester. Leicester because they haven't done nothing and they could lose Tielemans or Maddison or
well, they lost Fofana. He's gone.
Yeah, Fofana's gone.
But we're talking shut the window now. Are we talking still outgoings to go or shut the window now?
No,
because
like shut the window now.
We see how Brendan responds to players who say they don't want to play. Tielemans said he doesn't want to play anymore. And what happened to Tielemans? When Maddison said he doesn't want to play anymore, he didn't play for a minute. So Tielemans has said he doesn't really want to play anymore. Well, how will he respond to that? So yeah, Leicester, because what's it called? Fofana is their best centre back, and he's gone. Also, United simply because they need something in midfield. They need a right winger. Hopefully, for their sake, don't get Anthony. For my sake, get Anthony. And then Chelsea, you haven't signed midfielders. Their best midfield signing came back from loan in Gallagher, so they need the midfielders and they need attackers. And then Spurs with the creator, like I said, the biggest impact for Spurs would be if they got James Maddison, and they didn't. They don't have anyone else you can create barring Kane. And if you block the middle and make the 2 wingers play 1v1,
so after citing almost half the league, when I've asked for like
4 teams, I said
for one team. Correct. I'm going to ask you, please help me out.
Mine's Leicester.
It is one
Leicester,
team.
But I said 4. No.
One team
I said
without
4
context.
Mine's Leicester.
Okay, one team, Curran, that you fear the most if they don't do any more business from between now and the end of the season. Aston Villa. Okay. Aston Villa is definitely somebody that is in trouble. And, of course, Liverpool is somebody as well. Guys, in the comments, thank you so much. We're going to end, essentially,
Wait. Before we do go, we haven't, because we didn't talk about in the preview either. What do you make of the draw?
The Europa League draw? Ooh. You want to do that? Really? I don't know.
I don't like
that. 2 minutes.
I wish we got
so many. I wish we got worse teams. I couldn't care for competing in the group stages.
I think we got pretty poor teams. I'm not gonna lie. I don't agree.
Not of the groups. In comparison to the other groups.
No, but there's more travel times with that as well. And I don't think that, when you look at it, the travel distances are very tight. I love that. I will say that. And I think that's going to be majorly important when you look at the lead up to the World Cup, guys, because I think this is actually a thing. Sure, there were maybe easier teams to face, but ultimately, if you're going to be traveling very far,
Holland, Germany, and Norway.
Yeah, like it's all within an hour of each other, so it's nothing.
I'm just hoping that Norway game isn't in the middle of like December or something. You know what I mean? Like,
well, we know it's
get that one in like September.
September to October. That's the group stage.
That's okay.
So it's not. Yeah.
But the thing is,
I just think. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say the travel times is the main thing for me. I was saying as it was happening, as long as we're not, oh God, as long as we're not traveling like 5 hours, both of you shut up. As long as we're not traveling 5 hours there and back, there we go.
That was just unnecessary, was it not?
As long as we're not traveling for 5 hours, but yeah, that's the.
But yeah, I think
I don't think. I mean, PSV didn't. Yeah. PSV didn't just lost to Rangers, and Zurich, yeah. I mean,
who are last in their league, PSG, Zurich. So it's a very easy group ultimately. And do I think Gakpo stays in the window? I don't know. I think someone panic buys for Gakpo. I mean, whether that's Chelsea looking for a Gordon replacement, or somebody like that. Or Newcastle, if they can't steal Ismaila Sarr, like that's a left winger that could move later in the window. And I think also past their qualifiers, which is what PSV were keeping him on for anyways. That's a big reason why he hasn't moved yet. So I think he could be somebody to look to move towards the end of the window. But yeah, no, ultimately, again, I don't think there's much to talk about on there because it's a very easy draw. And again, even with our second team, there's not going to be much of an issue. The one benefit is just there's close distances, and that's something that I really liked. But finally, maybe I can ask the last question of the stream before we go into Q&A. Guys, the window so far at Arsenal, obviously it's not done. Obviously, we've got 4 days left. All the context police, let's put that to a side right now. Give me your rating of the window to date. Right now, if it was to close, what are you out of 10? I'm going to go to Curran first.
Can I ask one question?
Oh, dear God, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to boot you. I'm going to boot
Is this including contract extensions?
Of course, this is all. This
Then
is
fine.
including every piece of business
Everything.
that you could have
Fine.
done to this
Fine.
window.
That's all I
It's
was
done.
asking. Then it's a 6. Then
Okay.
it's a 6. Because of no Saka extension, no Saliba extension. I know they're probably happening. We haven't got rid of AMN and Bellerin yet. The whole issue with the final signing, I don't know if maybe we're one off. But the main thing for me is our 2 talisman players haven't been signed to long-term deals yet. When that happens, then it goes up a point. If we get another signing, then it goes up another point, and the quality of that signing could raise it 2 points. So I think our 2 biggest marquee players need to be signed to long-term deals. That's the main thing for me.
Chris, same question. There's a lot of 7s, a lot of 8s in the chats. 7 to 8 seems to be the consensus with 1 6 essentially. What is your thoughts? 7 or 1 to 10? What do you make of the window so far?
I think 6 is a bit low simply because Lacazette and Pepe have left. Slim and Mari's gone, Torreira's gone, Leno's gone, Tavares on loan. Obviously, a lot of young loans like Balogun, Brook, Salaradine, Runners on loan, Okonkwo loan, Flores loan, Hutchinson gone. Like, there's been a lot of movement, obviously, in the first team and the youth team. I think it's, and then obviously, fuck. And then Jesus, we signed him. Zinchenko, Vieira, and we did it very early. Like, we had all these players playing before. Vieira was injured, but everyone else was actually playing in preseason. Like, they were actually playing. They were actually there. They're actually there playing. So yeah, I think 8, 7, 8 because
I'm obviously making fun of Chris too. I'm
No,
doing
you're
it
not.
more on
You're
purpose.
not. You're not.
Because
No.
obviously it's something that we need to get through. But Chris, I swear to God,
Obviously,
if you
I
don't
think-
tell me within the first 20 seconds of this next point what your rating is,
I
100%,
just said it.
let me know.
I said 7 or I said
7.
7 or 8 because
No, pick one.
Because-
Not 1 or 2. Pick one. Pick one. Line in the sand.
This isn't the
No
predictions. You need to pick
no
your.
stickers.
You need to pick a
Fine,
score.
it can change. We're gonna do another.
Do
pod at
7.5.
deadline day. I was gonna save that.
no, I
Don't
think
worry.
as of
We'll
right
come
now,
back
as
later.
of right now,
Where are you? Yeah.
as of right now, because of how well prepared we were from last season, especially in comparison to last season, and we did a lot of business the other way, Mari, Torreira, all of those guys. I think it's 8 out of 10. Like, I think
8. Okay.
I think Saliba and Saka is done already, and I think
When it's happened, it
Saliba-
raises a point. That's all I'm going to say.
Saliba's been good. Saliba's been very good. Jesus has been very good. Zinchenko has been very good. Vieira has been injured. White has played well. Like who else do we sign? Vieira's injured. Marquinhos has been very good in U21. Like, the signings we've made have all performed and all been there since since
8. His score was
July.
8.
So it's an
His
8.
score
was
was
it?
8. Man.
So
Yeah,
the
I'd
biggest thing.
Hey, I said
for
my
me-
number a long time ago.
We can't because you just keep going on and on. So listen, in terms of my rating for the window, it's going to be 6.5. Ultimately, when you kind of have a summary of the window, we've cleared 1,010 K a week in wages off the wage bill. We've kind of cleared all of our non-homegrown spots, completed loans. There's 3 non-homegrown spots that are open. A majority of the business was done before preseason. You've got top-rated youngsters that received loans in terms of Patino, Brook, Tavares, Balogun. So there's a lot of good stuff that happened. My issue has been, which we haven't talked about, is the sales. Like, I understand that we're in a bit of trouble, but we've ultimately accrued 20 million pounds in sales. It's pretty pitiful regardless of how you look at it. And in terms of the incomings. I think we've done very well.
Can
but
I change?
Ultimately, no. Relax yourself.
Klopp
Let me finish.
just said we're signing a midfielder. So
No, but okay, but we don't know the name. It'll change. We'll do another window. Don't worry. You don't have to be right now, both of you. It's gonna happen. We're gonna do another vid. Okay,
They could
Jesus.
literally,
It could
they
change
could
in the
literally
next
just
10
sign.
minutes.
They could sign
Okay, it could
Oleinka. They
happen
could sign
tomorrow,
Oleinka.
and we
We
could
don't know who they're
happen.
gonna sign.
Olienka's
Cozy
gonna go to
Dewsbury.
Liverpool and he's gonna smash it. Okay, I'm gonna kill both of you guys. But
Charles Sago Jr.
ultimately, what I'm looking at here is I'm not happy with the sales. I'm not happy with half of the aspect of our window right now. I'm happy with a lot of the incomings that we've had, but I don't think all of the incomings are going to hit the ground running. Namely, Matt Turner, Marquinhos, I think is an excellent signing, but again, I don't think he's going to be a factor for the first team. And so when you look at it, there's probably only 3 players that we've signed factually that are going to impact the team. And I think we needed at least 4 or 5. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think we've done well. I like the signings. I like the valuations as well. I love our authority in the transfer market. So there's been a lot of really, really good things, but I think you make one more signing that basically addresses 15 goals and assists in the league. You take that 6.5 to a very solid 7.5. And I do agree with Chris. I think Saliba's contract is done. I think the Bukayo Saka contract is done. And the only reason that they're not really announcing it right now is I think they want to pair it with Martinelli and they want to do some big thing in terms of a media day. So I'm really not worried on contract extensions. I think that's a lot farther along than we think. In fact, I think Bellerin staying is really what's kept Saliba's contract from essentially staying. But obviously, we've got to move on to the last thoughts of the window. I'm going to give it to Chris.
We have George. George is sitting right here, and I'm the one that overanalyzes.
See, look, the people, they know. Chris, you can't fight with the people.
Crazy.
The people know. But last thoughts of the window, mate. Like, what have you made of the window so far? A lot of movement. And just to set you up here, there's been a lot of transactions. I don't think the number of transfer fee totals have been the same. So last summer, I think bigger players moved for a bigger outlay, but less transactions. I think there's been a lot more transactions this window. We've seen a little bit of a return to the free market that we lost, post-COVID. So what did you make kind of the European market in general? This is a chance to maybe talk about Barcelona dunking on all of us. But what do you make kind of Arsenal and but also in broadly terms, like the transfer market? Like what were your takeaways from it?
So you go first.
Yeah, I'm Chris, not you.
And sorry, one thing to do, my 7 was a completed window. So yet again, if we don't sign a player that I want, if we don't continue those,
my last one was a 6.
actually sold. We actually sold more last year, by the way. So that's why it's less. We've sold less, we've recruited less incomings, and we also have yet to really confirm our major deals yet. So again, it's a 6.5 right now. It could change, but yeah. Go ahead, Chris. What's the last thoughts?
Go back to the start of the stream. We discussed this, and I think the movement has been very good. I think certain players, most teams have done very well to address their needs. Obviously, the money that certain teams have spent is crazy. Like United on certain things, Chelsea on certain things. Like even Barcelona have spent a lot of money on players they can't even register, which didn't make any sense to me that they've allowed them to consistently sign players like Lewandowski when you can't even register him to play in the league. Now he can play, but at first they couldn't register him. I think there's a clear disparity between the Prem and the other leagues, and it's because of the way the leagues have set themselves up, and it's becoming more and more evident that they need to change the way they structure their leagues, or the Prem is just going to go far and far away. And we've already got a Super League. Most teams in the Prem challenge for top 4 in these other leagues. Most teams in the Prem challenge for top 4 in the other leagues, and the Prem is probably the best league. No, it is the best league quality by far, and I think certain teams, even the Championship teams, have done a lot of good business this summer, but certain teams just spend too much money for their own sake, like Chelsea, which is the best. No, he didn't say that. You said Europe. F that. No. You said Europe, didn't you, George?
I did. I included Europe as
Thank-
well, so it's okay. You get a pass. But no, I think just in general, the one thing that I've learned is I think the return from the post-COVID market was my big takeaway here. I think valuations are back, and they're back in a really bad way. Just in general, I think that there's been probably a less amount of total fees, but there's been a lot more transactions from players, and I think that the Prem has really solidified itself as the destination for a lot of footballers, despite what Barcelona has been able to do in terms of dunking on very major Prem teams very publicly. I still think that ultimately, if you're going to look at the collection of talent and people that have moved over, I think that this transfer window has been really eye-opening in terms of how valuations can get out of hand. Cucurella, even Koulibaly for the money. When you look at Anthony Gordon, and Anthony,
Rafinha,
Lissandro
60 million.
Martinez, Casemiro, Rafinha for 60 million. Like the valuations have really got out of control. And so I think there's no longer that COVID fear. And that's something that's, I thought it would take a lot longer to basically repair. But that's my big takeaway from the market in general. Curran, your last thoughts in terms of both Arsenal or, Europe in general? Like, what did you take away from the market? He's looking at me like we might need
Right.
You
like,
No.
oh my days.
that was
Please.
so unprovoked.
I just need one thing, Kurt.
That was so
I
unprovoked.
need
So
one thing.
unnecessary. Right. Okay. The main thing I'm going to take away is I've never seen a league as competitive as the Premier League in 2022 at this moment in time. Any team, I would say, from about 1 till 18, 19 can beat. I think the only team that I don't really count is Bournemouth. Don't think they're ready for this league yet. Any of these teams can get a victory against any of these teams on any day. And I'm not talking like, okay, maybe they'll fight. I'm talking major upsets. We saw Fulham get 2 points, take 2 points away from Liverpool. We've seen teams, you've seen Brentford, you've seen all these guys. I mean, thanks, guys. I mean, I appreciate it. But in terms of the Premier League, you can see that there's the lack of disparity between the top, like maybe 6 teams and maybe your West Ham, Crystal Palaces, Brentford's. There's not the gap isn't massive, and then you have that second group of Leicester, these guys, Aston Villa, and that's not too far back. Like Leicester were a good European side; they were competing for top 4. And now they're not even going to be finishing top half. I don't think it's a massive change in the dynamic of the league. I think it's a much more even league. In terms of Europe, obviously there's the Barcelona situation, but no one's mentioning Real Madrid, and I don't really understand why. Aurelien Tchouameni, an amazing signing for them. I know they've lost Casemiro, and that's obviously going to be a bit of effect for depth. And I know they kind of need to refresh Toni Kroos with Eduardo Camavinga, and that will be a very interesting dynamic change. But their signings have been very good this summer. I don't think they've spent
No
big
one's
and
mentioned it because
reinforced
it was early.
Yeah, it was
This is the
early,
thing.
and I think just really quickly for Don One, here we're gonna probably do all our predictions. We're gonna have another screen for you that I'm going to announce very shortly. I hope in the next 30 seconds that we talk about our timeline of videos, because we're gonna be doing another one, on the deadline day, right? So
Yeah, we are.
don't worry about that. We're gonna be doing another one of these, and we're actually gonna do it a little bit longer on deadline day. So like, come prepared for your predictions then. I think it's in the middle of the window, so don't worry. In next Wednesday, you'll find us to basically answer these things.
And the last a couple of things, obviously, PSG have done great with Louis Campos. I think Marseille have gone a bit under the window.
They got my boy.
They got Hugo Ekitike. I think Marseille have kind of gone under the radar. I think they've done a lot of business. I don't know if it's going to be better for them or worse, but it kind of feels like they've gotten everyone. Alexis, Nuno. I think they got that 6'9" guy, that centre back. I think Isak Torre, I think his name is. They've done a lot of business. And then Italy, I don't really know a lot. I mean, obviously they've got Arturis Milik for Juventus has recently gone through. Kostic is a great signing for Juventus. Roma have been doing Roma things. Matic, Gini Wijnaldum, unluckily. I think that's a very interesting league for next year. Who knows about Ronaldo maybe going to Napoli? And then the Bundesliga is just Bundesliga doing Bundesliga things. So, yeah, I mean, the Bayern links, the Bayern is just going to steamroll it. But I do like some of the signings. Adeyemi to Dortmund, quite a decent signing. He's ready to take that leap. Obviously, there's Haller who had unfortunately his diagnosis, but they've done well. So in terms of across the leagues, obviously Ajax just rinsing Man United for everything they're worth. So that's a good way to end. But definitely some really interesting moves in the top 5 leagues. But for me, I really feel that people are sleeping on Real Madrid. I think everyone's looking to Man City and PSG, but Real Madrid, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, and Mudryk is going to be an insane midfield.
Well, I think less about the window. Some of the most interesting thing is how Galtier's got PSG playing right now. I think it's probably the best that we've seen Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe, despite all of the crap.
3 goals every game. 3+ goals every game.
It's been incredible, and it's a coach that I've really believed in for quite a while. But again, I'm not going to really get into much into that, guys. Look, it's that time of the hour where we're essentially going to do last minute questions. You guys let us know in the comments. We'll be here for like maybe another 5 minutes. We'll just answer last minute burning questions. Keep them rapid fire, please, so that we can get it through because these boys like to talk. So let us know. Quickly about the Carabao Cup. Do you guys?
You talk the most. Yes, I do care about it.
I'm the host. I'm the host. I have to talk. Carabao Cup. Is it something that you guys expect us to go deep?
I don't expect it, but I'd like us to win it. I'd like us to.
So Curran would like to. How about you, Chris? Is this something?
Well, last season I thought we'd win it, but this year I do think we want to do well, and I want to get as many games possible for the French players in the squad to play and stay happy. Like obviously, Sambi we know gets in his mood if he doesn't play. So I'd rather we get to the final of every single competition, play 65 games this season, and everyone plays a lot. We win a couple competitions and everyone's happy. Like I'd rather that than get knocked out early and then only focus on the Prem, because I think it adds too much pressure on those Premier League games that we just don't need.
Okay, rapid fire. I'm going to go to you, Curran. PSG for the Champions League this year, yes or no? And rate it from 1 to 10.
For the culture. Neymar Ballon d'Or season, so yes for me.
Oh, Neymar! I want Neymar to win the Ballon d'Or.
Okay, Chris, you're going to get this one. In terms of Yeremy Pino, yay or nay? Give me a 1 to 10 on the talent rating. Don't give me a profile eval.
Haven't watched him enough. 7.
7. Okay. In terms of expecting a deadline day signing, we'll do this all together. I'm about an 8 out of 10. I think we've kind of already answered this in stream, but I think maybe not a deadline day signing, but we do get a signing. I'm 80% confident. Current.
I was 8 out of 10 on 80% for signing, but I don't know if it's deadline day or not. Could be 7 or 8, something like that.
Chris, how about you? It doesn't have to be deadline day. I'm just going to alter the question a bit. Making a signing. I know you were somebody that didn't think that we could make a signing. So how confident are you of that? Is that going to be less than 50% or what?
1.
1.
1 out of 10. I don't think we signed anyone.
Okay, in terms of the thoughts on the Ronaldo situation, I'll give that to Curran because he loves Manchester United. What are your thoughts on that really quickly?
I think he stays. I don't think they're able to shift him. So
I don't know if somebody's going to actually buy him. But Chris, I'm going to let you off with this one. In terms of if you had to decide from a trophy competition, and you know what, Blaze, can you ask this? Is top 4 also included in this? Because I think it changes. If you're just asking between what cup I would like to win with top 4, I think it changes the answer a little bit more. So maybe if you could type that in again. Does top 4 factor into this question or not? But I will also maybe ask
Europa League.
Europa League is something that you prefer?
Simply because obviously it gets you Champions League and the players will be renowned as the first players ever. Even though it's a lie, they'll be the first players ever to win a European trophy for Arsenal, and they'd be super young. But I'd want Odegaard to be injured so he doesn't lift the trophy. That's me being serious. Serious.
So
He'll come John Terry style.
You know what? I kind of like this question. In terms of who do you guys think that their spot may be lost? I've said it with Odegaard. I think it's something that he could be in danger of. I think he's going to have to transition to the left center mid long term. That's somebody that I think could have an issue. I don't know if we bring in somebody to upgrade on Granit Xhaka, but we have bought somebody that in time is probably looked at as somebody that can upgrade on Odegaard. So that that for me is something that could happen. Another surprise spot is to probably look at is Gabriel, especially with the greater depth in terms of center back. It's not something that I would like to see. I still believe in Gabriel quite a bit more than the timeline does, but it's certainly a place with Saliba coming in. He will force an idea in terms of maybe there's somebody there that can get replaced. But guys, last minute thing that we're going to do is we're going to do all the top scorers and stuff. We're going to do all that stuff in kind of the next video. But you know what I want is right now, top 4, since that's something that we were famous for in our predictions last time. What do you think on a scale of 1 to 10 is the likelihood that we get top 4 this year? Number only.
Mine was always 100%. Last season was 100%, and it was wrong. This season is 100%, and it's going to be right. I thought 100% top 4, 20% to win the league.
Yeah. Okay. So Blaze, if it wasn't clear, I think everybody said European trophy if top 4 is included in that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Let me clarify: they win the league. I think Chelsea's 70 to win the. No, City is 70% likely to win the league. Arsenal 20, Liverpool 10.
I didn't ask that question. Current.
I don't care.
What is the likelihood on top 4? 1 to 10.
Oh, it's a 9 for me, and then about a 40% chance of that to finish in the top 3, and then 10%, 20% top 2, and then 10% top 1 to get top.
Let me give mine then.
Yeah, and so in terms of changing the predictions, trust me, guys, we will revisit our
predictions. Are you insane?
There are things that have changed. I think for all of us, to be honest with you, I don't think anybody's okay with their table right now. I think a lot of business has been done. But guys, listen, we've been here for basically 2 hours. Guys, there's been an incredible amount of engagement, and honestly, thank you guys so much. When I just keep seeing the numbers, it's like unbelievable. We've had so much engagement. We really appreciate it. We hope you guys.
You forget that I have tons of your screenshots.
That's okay.
I'm definitely. Wait till I'm host.
I am the captain now. Okay.
Wait. Just wait till I'm
guys,
host.
Thank you so much for keeping with us. It's time to do our thing. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. You hit the bell for notifications to know, in fact, when we do upload. You can find all the boys' socials here. You can find me at GeorgeV_AFC. You can find Curran at CurranBOP. And, of course, Chris, there, he finally did it, at CKFTBL. That's at CK Football. And, of course, on Twitter, you can find us at BallOverPassion on YouTube, but at BOP Footy on the Twitter sphere. So thank you guys so much. Guys, quickly schedules, just so everybody knows before we do fire out. We've got a lot of stuff coming up, guys. We've got the review on Fulham that's going to come up next week. We are going to be doing a transfer deadline day pod, very similar to this. We'll do another 2-3 hour little run. So come back with us and make sure you guys see that. And of course, we've got Villa midweek as well. So we've got to fit in a preview as well as a review next week. So we are going to be busy here at Ball Over Passion. We hope you guys enjoy it. Please let us know what you guys think we can do to improve, and let us know if you guys like this kind of thing. But we will be seeing you guys probably very soon, either Sunday or Monday, with the Fulham review first. But guys, thank you so much for sticking with us. We really do appreciate all of the support on a level. It's been unbelievable. And, we're kind of honored that, everybody is, being so involved lately. So thank you so much. And I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. So thank you, everybody. And hopefully we're going to sign off. I'm going to remember Fulham 2. I'm lying. Arsenal 2, Fulham 0. So I hope that we get
sharp and sign off, man.
But cheers. Thanks, guys.